Good evening. We're going to be calling this board meeting to order at 6:04. Welcome to the Alvord Unified School District Board meeting on October the 8th, 2020. We're so pleased you're all here with us tonight. We're excited. We're going to be recognizing Wells Middle School. Yes. We're very excited about that. And we're so pleased that everybody's with us this evening. But to start off, we're going to ask Mr. Robert Schwant to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, please stand.
Put your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schwant. Okay. At this time, at approximately 8:30 p.m., the Board of Education will determine which of the remaining agenda items can be considered and acted upon prior to 9 p.m. and may continue all other items on which additional time is required until a further meeting. All meetings are scheduled to end no later than 9 o'clock. Okay. We're now going to be going to public comment. As authorized by Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-2920, dated March 17, 2020, the Alvord Unified School District will conduct all meetings of the governing board via teleconference until further notice. The meeting will be live streamed via Zoom. Pursuant to Executive Order N-2920, the governing board will take public comments. All public comments must be submitted in writing in advance of the meeting. Please submit your written comments to Superintendent at alvordschools.org no later than 9 a.m. on October 8th, 2020. During the governing board meeting, written public comments received in a timely manner will be read for the governing board. Pursuant to Board Bylaw 9323, public comment period will be limited to 20 minutes. Duplicate public comments will not be read during this meeting. However, all written public comments will be provided to the governing board in advance of this meeting. So at this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Miserino if we have received any public comments for open session.
We do, Madam President, and I'm happy to read that comment.
Well, thank you very much.
I am concerned the Norte Vista High School girls water polo began practices without acknowledgement from the Alvord Unified School District Board on how they will address the structural and institutional racism at play when it comes to keeping our students and staff safe during this COVID-19 pandemic. Namely, I am concerned about the following. What is the funding for Norte Vista High School's pool cleaning schedule? And will you, AUSD, assure the pool is cleaned weekly in order to meet guidelines for public health and safety? Science has given us important information about COVID-19 and its high transmission rate because of its airborne and surface area longevity. How is AUSD helping Norte Vista High School girls water polo ensure that during practices, every single surface touched by a student and staff is cleaned throughout the duration of the practice? Doorknobs, equipment, handrails, stairs. Please explain how the coach will continuously disinfect surfaces, ensure students are practicing 6 feet apart, wear a mask at all times, and coach from a safe distance again, given that COVID-19 is spread from particles people emit when yelling or speaking. Is COVID-19 testing available every week? The Norte Vista High School girls water polo team practices. Promoting healthy measures means contact tracing. What is AUSD going to do to help Norte Vista High School water polo team keep a contact tracer and test student athletes and coaches on a weekly basis? As you can see, my concern here lies with oversight. Who is overseeing the coach during practice and making sure he is following the rules? Is there going to be cleaning staff on site at each practice, disinfecting? How much funding is AUSD providing Norte Vista High School girls water polo to disinfect equipment? Is AUSD expecting our students, our children, to disinfect COVID-19? How many custodial staff members are available to disinfect Norte Vista High School girls water polo practices? Ventilation is a key piece. How is AUSD helping Norte Vista High School girls water polo team locker rooms be equipped to handle students changing with proper ventilation, in parentheses, air scrubbers, question mark. Why haven't these key issues been addressed before Norte Vista High School girls polo team began practicing? If the answer to these questions is limited funds, do you see why I'm concerned with our institutional and structural racism at play in Norte Vista High School girls water polo commencing practices? When our socioeconomic student family demographic is 90% qualifying for free school lunches, it's imperative that AUSD concern themselves with the students who come to Norte Vista High School girls water polo practices and their families. They are the first ones who will get infected and spread it to their families, because ultimately COVID-19 is not about will Norte Vista High School students water polo get infected. It's about when will Norte Vista High School water polo get infected. COVID-19 demands respect. How is AUSD respecting the families of these students who are largely essential workers? How is AUSD ensuring that Norte Vista High School girls water polo practices before Norte Vista High School even opens is an appropriate decision? At stake here is the students and families' lives. Explain how AUSD allowing Norte Vista High School water polo to begin practicing without the items I listed above, responsible and respectful of the pandemic we are in. That concludes our public comments, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muserino. With that being it, we're going to close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we are now going to go to special recognitions, Wells Middle School. Yay!
Hey,
And
Wells.
And I'm going to turn it over to their wonderful principal, Karen Urbano. Have a wonderful time. This is fun. I'm excited. Oh, we can't hear you.
Unmuted.
No, you're good now. You're good now.
Okay.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Try that again. Good evening, board and cabinet and families. It's an honor to be here. My name is Karen Robato. I'm the proud principal of Wells Middle School. I am so delighted to have so many great people here with us tonight. I would like to share my screen, if that's all right, to
Please.
Oh, maybe not. So whoever the host is, if you want me to share my screen, just let me know. And I will have some pictures of our fabulous recipients. But first, I would like to recognize our student of the month. We're good? Okay.
Yeah, you should be able to try again.
All right, let's do it.
There it is.
All right. And
Yay.
are going to start with our student of the month, who is Gael Blanco.
Hey.
I would like to read a few words about Gael. Wells Middle School is proud to recognize Gael Blanco as the Alvord Unified School District Student of the Month for October 2020. Gael is currently an 8th grade student at Wells Middle School. Throughout his 3 years at Wells, he has challenged himself to be not only an exceptional student, but also one who perseveres through challenging times. Our Wells values are: we belong, we learn, we aspire, and Gael has consistently modeled those values while at Wells. One of this year's teachers wrote about him, "I am super impressed with how he, from the beginning, has spoken up in class when many were silent. He answers questions and finds ways to advocate, like when the internet or a program is buggy. He's the first to say it for everyone. He comes to office hours for assistance and requests more time to meet when he needs it. He shows a level of responsibility and advocacy and has a bright future ahead of him." Many of our students at Wells face adversity, and our distance learning environment has created more challenges for many. Gael is an example of someone who will not allow difficult circumstances to keep him from his aspirations. Rather, he utilizes his resources and creativity to ensure his personal success. It is a great pleasure to honor Gael Blanco as the Alvord Unified School District Student of the Month for October 2020.
Oh, God. Woohoo, Gael.
Gael!
All right.
Is he with us this evening?
I'm sorry?
Is he with us this evening? Is he present?
I know he was hoping to attend,
Okay.
checking in, and I did not see him before I shared my screen.
Okay. Well, maybe he'll show up afterwards and you can.
He is a very humble young man, so I know being in the spotlight was not his personal preference. So hopefully if he's not with us with the panel, then he's watching at home and he knows how proud of him we all are.
Absolutely. We're very proud of you, Gael. Very, very proud of you. And when we're able to all be together again, we will be presenting you with the plaque and your award back at the district office. And we can all be together to celebrate this wonderful achievement for you, Gael. We look forward to that very much so. So thank you very much for being here this evening. Hopefully you're here. And we look forward to seeing you very soon.
Right. Thank you, President Wilson.
You're welcome.
Next up, and I know that we did have these fabulous parents join us just before I shared my screen. So our Alvord Unified School District Volunteers of the Month are the Mariches, so Cirila Palacios and Arturo Mariche.
Very nice.
All right. Again, a few words about the Mariches. Wells Middle School is proud to recognize Arturo Mariche and Cirila Palacios as the Alvord Unified School District Volunteers of the Month for October 2020. Senor y Senora Mariche are the proud parents of Giovanni Mariche Palacios, a 7th grader at Wells, and Yaretsi Mariche Palacios, a 3rd grader at Arlanza Elementary. From the time that Giovanni started as a student at Wells, it was obvious how much the Mariches care for their children based on how involved they were with all parent engagement opportunities. The Mariches are active participants in ELAC, Wells Parent University, PICE, and Coffee with the Counselors. They engage with all presentations and ask questions to clarify any information that is shared. The Mariches exemplify that true education is a partnership between the school and the home. This year, Senor Mariche is our ELAC Vice President, and we appreciate his willingness to take on this leadership role. Giovanni benefits greatly from the involvement of his parents, and they are role models for their willingness to learn when any opportunity to do so is presented to them. It is a great pleasure to honor Cirila Palacios and Arturo Mariche as the Alvord Unified School District Volunteers of the Month for October 2020.
Yay! Congratulations! Congratulations! And again, what we will be doing is that we look forward to again recognizing you in person back at the KPC building. Very, very soon, hopefully, and because we want to be able to hug you and squeeze you and tell you how much we really do appreciate everything you do. Again, I always say, and I know that Mrs. Marino echoes this, that parents are the heart of our schools, and if we didn't have their parents, the school just wouldn't be right. So we appreciate you and your caring and your support and your dedication to not just your children, but to all of our children here at Alvord Unified School District at Wells Middle School. And we look so forward to honoring you very, very soon in person. So thank you again for being here, because I did get to see you before we did put the presentation up. But so it's wonderful to see you there for a moment, but we look forward to seeing you very soon back at the district office. So thank you again, and congratulations from the Board of Education.
Felicidades.
Yay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Of course.
And next up, we have our Wells Classified Employee of the Month, Antonio Fernandez Munoz.
Yay, Antonio.
Here. I noticed he was in his car, and he's probably at his daughter's practice, most likely, which is where he spends a lot of evenings being super dad. But Antonio, Wells Middle School is proud to recognize Antonio Fernandez Munoz as the Alvord Unified School District Classified Employee of the Month for October 2020. Antonio has been an Alvord employee for 8 years as a custodian and campus supervisor, and he is beginning his second year here at Wells as our head custodian. After only 1 year at Wells, he was voted Classified Employee of the Year by our staff. Antonio's impact on our campus was felt immediately. He has an incredibly strong work ethic and holds himself and his team to very high standards. Between his personal work and his leadership with his team, he transformed the look of our campus. Staff, students, and community members all noticed and commented on the improvements on campus, and Antonio's pride in cleanliness is infectious. Students joined in the work to keep our campus clean and enjoyed chatting with Mr. Fernandez. Antonio treats everyone with whom he interacts with a great deal of respect, including students, and he invites a feeling of camaraderie on campus. Antonio Fernandez Munoz has had a profound impact on Wells in his brief time with us, and we appreciate his kind heart, warm smile, and commitment to excellence. It is a great pleasure to honor Antonio Fernandez Munoz as the Alvord Unified School District Classified Employee of the Month for October 2020.
Yes.
Right, congratulations.
Wonderful. Well, I don't think there's much more that I can say. You are amazing, Antonio. The head custodian in 2 years, that's just incredible. Absolutely phenomenal, and what an achievement. But I think I like best is the super dad. So we just are exactly. So we are just so excited to recognize you very soon back at the district office with your plaque and the flowers and all of the hoopla that comes with what you deserve, because you have definitely made a difference at that school. And Mrs. Roboto has shared it with us now, and we are so excited to be able to honor you and share this wonderful time with you, because you've made a difference, and we're so excited. And you are one of our superstars, it sounds like, right, Karen?
Oh, absolutely.
One of our superstars.
It's just the difference he has made in such a short time. It's hard to put into words.
I know, and if everybody's not able to see Mrs. Roboto's face, she is beaming when she's reading this about his bio. So, Antonio, I'm so excited to present you with your plaque and to give you a big hug and to recognize all of your wonderful, wonderful contributions to Wells Middle School, because you deserve it, because your principal is beaming about you. So thank you for joining us this evening in your car. Now go back and watch your little girl play her game, and we'll see you very soon back at KPC. Thank you so very much, and congratulations on behalf of the Board of Education.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. There he is. Yay!
All
Can't
right.
wait to see you. Can't wait to see you back there. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to see you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Our pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Antonio, and thank you, President Wilson.
Of course.
And finally, and I know she is just being tortured having to wait to be the last person because Jackie also does not like the spotlight at all. And I have to mention that this picture is last year at her grandson's water polo banquet. So she is a proud grandma in this picture. A little context there.
Yes.
But Wells Middle School is proud to recognize Jackie Rydell as the Alvord Unified School District Certificated Employee of the Month for October 2020.
Yay.
Yay, Jackie. Jackie Rydell is a resource specialist at Wells and our special education department chair. She is starting her 22nd year in public education, and she has taught at Wells for all 22 of these years.
Wow.
At Wells, our vision is that relationships are our top priority, which leads to relevance, which leads to rigor. Mrs. Rydell exemplifies the power of relationships in education. Mrs. Rydell believes in the capabilities and potential of every student, even when, or perhaps especially when, students do not yet see these qualities in themselves. Mrs. Rydell has taught countless students how to read, how to clean out their backpacks, how to fill out their planner, and she spends mornings, lunches, and afternoons with her students, now on the computer, but many years in person as well, and has been known to give students a pudding snack or two to help fuel the additional hours students spend with her. Jackie has also provided families with groceries, clothing, and books, often without telling others that she is providing these resources. Jackie's gift of relationship building is not reserved only for students. She is the loving, or at times tough-loving, mom of her department and builds community through social bonding at work, often accompanied by homemade treats from her husband, Chef Davy.
I love it.
And I know he's watching tonight too, so shout out to Chef Davy.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful.
It is not unusual to find treats on your desk or in your box from Jackie, either as a thank you or usually just because. Jackie's kind heart makes our challenging profession a little easier. It is a great pleasure.
Karen, you're getting me. You're getting me, Karen.
I knew this one was going to be tough, but it is a great pleasure to honor Jackie Rydell as the Alvord Unified School District Certificated Employee of the Month for October 2020.
Congratulations, Jackie.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you so much. And I love Alvord. I love Wells. And I love, we have the greatest principal.
Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations. Well, Jackie, as you can see, she feels the same way about you. She feels the same way about you. And so does the Alvord School Board. And we look forward to being able to honor you back with your flowers and hugs and the plaque and everything else, because you deserve it. Your heart, it sounds, the kindness that you're about, that's more than just being a teacher. That's being just an exceptional human being and a kind and loving person. And right now, at this time in the pandemic we're in, and all this craziness that's going on, that's what it's about. It's about sharing that part of you. And so we are so blessed and so treasured to have you as a part of our Alvord family. And when Karen is reading your bio and she's crying, and I don't know who can see and who can't see, I'm sucking in my cheeks not to cry. But it's it just shows how close you all are and how you truly are a family at Wells and how you really care for one another, to the parents, to the teachers and the classified. And it's amazing, you guys. It's amazing, and it's coming through in volumes. I just can't wait to feel it in person so we can share it with you. But Jackie, you go above and beyond just being a teacher, and I'm so blessed that Karen was able to share that with us this evening, because we need that right now. And we are so excited to hear this about you, and we can't wait to celebrate you. We can't wait to celebrate you. So thank you so much for everything you do and your beautiful, kind heart, along with your beautiful smile tonight. We are so very pleased, and on behalf of the Board of Education, we congratulate you, and we are very, truly, truly blessed to have you a member of our family. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, President Wilson. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share the love that we have going on at Wells.
Mrs. Roboto, I have to tell you that this has been a pleasure to have you here with us this evening, because you certainly have shared all the love with us here from Wells. And it's so wonderful to see, and because it is such a difficult time, but every single one of your faces are bright and shiny and smiling and just glowing, full of love for each other and for your students and your school. And I just thank you so very much for that this evening, and for doing that to our students and giving them that support and that dedication and that caring. You guys are amazing. And you guys, I don't know, but you guys are right next to each other and my screen, and your smiles are this big, and you're beautiful. Together, you're beautiful. So I just want to say Hey, thank you again for being here. I am going to turn it over to Dr. Muzzarino because I'm sure he has a few words to say as well. But thank you for being here and sharing this evening with us because it has meant so very much to the Board of Education and the Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Muzzarino.
Thank you, Madam President, and congratulations. First of all, the power of community has certainly been something that we have all seen to an incredible degree here in our fair city here in Riverside. Everyone has come together on the micro level, students, parents, teachers, staff members all working together to make school work in a very, very difficult time for all of us. So, and then of course at a macro level, everything the city is doing and the county and the state to support our children and our families and community. So you spoke, Karen, so beautifully to the power of community right here before us. We're seeing it, and it's hard not to get teary-eyed. When you're a big softy like me, it's impossible not to get teary-eyed. But even for the toughest of folks, kind of hard to keep your eyes dry under these circumstances. It's just a beautiful thing to see. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you, all of you, for everything you do for our children. And it means the world to us.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you here. We love you. We love you. Love you.
Yes.
Woohoo! Have a nice evening. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Jackie.
Good night.
Yes.
Good night.
Is she the host? Is she the host?
Okay. Next on the agenda is that was such a wonderful presentation, wasn't it, Board and Cabinet? It was such a wonderful presentation. Oh, loved it. Okay, next we're going to go to Board of Education and Superintendent comments. And I have the pleasure of going first this evening. That's the first in a long time. But on behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank the County of Riverside Board of Supervisors for their donation of $730. It's from an all-for-one grant awarded through Riverside County Office of Education in the CARE Act's funding. And we will be receiving that later on during this the agenda items. But we just wanted to thank them. What we will be doing with this money, so everybody knows, we will be continuing to purchase Chromebooks for our students, replacing some of the older ones, and so they'll have brand new ones with this gift. So we are so very, very graciously excited to accept this, and we are blessed. A very special thanks to the Supervisor Karen Spiegel and Supervisor Kevin Jeffries, because we know they had something to do with getting us this gift. So again, we thank the Board of Supervisors, and we thank Karen and Kevin for always keeping Alvord in your sights. So thank you very much, and our students and the Board of Education. Thank you so very much, and we look forward to you coming and visiting when we can all get together. Karen has been here, and both Kevin, we've had Kevin Jeffries here as well at our schools. So we look forward for them to come and they can see their Chromebooks in action. So we look forward to that when we can do that. And then also, I wanted to send a big thank you to all the participants to our thought exchange. I know that's a really difficult thing to do. I know that, you think it is supposed to be anonymous, and it is. We don't know who's doing it. But I want you to know that we really appreciate your input. This is, again, on the discussions going to be for opening our schools. And your comments and your participation and your thoughts and your ratings have come into play in all of the Board of Education's minds of what we're doing and what we're looking at. I just want to give you some numbers real quick. These were the last numbers I found were participating. Teachers were, 706. Students were 2,000, over 2,000. And parents were over 2,000 as well. 2,000, almost 2,000 and almost 3,000 parents. So I just really want to say that we really appreciate it because this is a big decision to make. And we always say we're in this together, and we are. This is what we wanted to hear your voice. We want to hear how you feel about your students coming back to school, how you feel about our teachers coming back to school, how we feel about you coming back. And I just want to say that we've read through every single thought. We've read through every single rating, each one of us board members, as well as the cabinet and Dr. Muzzarino. And we just want to thank you because this was a very large turnout. It's a very, very big decision. That's why, and we understand it. But we really thank you for giving us this. I also reached out to, this is just who I am. I also made calls to my schools, the principals, the office staff, some of the PTO members, and kind of talked to them about how they felt about it, and some of the community members that I have relationships with to see how they feel. So I just want everybody to know that when we go to the discussion portion of this evening's meeting, that we have thought about everything and that we have, we really are putting your students first. We are thinking of their safety. We are thinking of their education. We're thinking of their, the potential of their learning loss. We have everything. We are so excited to present this presentation to you as well as discuss with you because our cabinet has worked very hard. I want to say one more thing. I know I've kind of gone over my seconds, and I apologize for it. But when the Board of Education closed the school down on the school district down on March 13th, we never in a million years thought that we would be out this far. We thought we were going to close it down and we'd be back after maybe the Easter break. We thought, oh, we'll be back, in a couple, certainly before graduation. And now it's all the way where we're at now. So I just want you to know that we are keeping that in our thoughts as well. And we understand, but we never in a million years thought we'd be here at this pandemic. And I just want to, again, give our cabinet and everybody, they have worked so hard from March 13th when we closed. March 14th, I think they started working about how we were going to open up our school safely again. And I think they've done a phenomenal job. And I think you're going to see it. And the teachers have done a phenomenal job of what they're doing in their classrooms right now, remotely. So we thank everybody. Everybody has stepped up and done an incredible job. You have made Alvord proud. You have made our surrounding districts proud. Everybody I talk to cannot say enough about how we're doing in Alvord. So I just wanted to send that to all the parents, teachers, classified, our Alvord families, our students. We are proud of you. On behalf of the Board of Education, we are proud of everybody. And we love our Alvord family. And we're going to show you tonight how excited we are. So I'm going to now be quiet, and I'm going to turn it over to the next person, and it is Dr. Gerardo.
Thank you, President Wilson. Well, just to stay in the theme of Wales Middle School, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment during my public comments this evening and talk to you about an exceptional human being that touched my life when I was a sixth grader. So I am a product of the Alvord district. I started my elementary at La Granada Elementary, but this teacher that I'm going to talk to you about actually finished his career and is now retired. He finished his career at Wells Middle School, and he impacted so many lives, both in La Granada and Wells Middle School. He is that kind of person that as a principal mentioned, he sees something that you yet as a sixth grader do not see in yourself. He's the kind of person that builds relationships. He touches people's lives the minute you walk into his classroom. From the start of that year to the end of that year. The minute you walk in the morning to the minute you leave in the afternoon. This exceptional teacher he has touched my life to really the woman I am today. I have to attest that sixth grade year as a pivotal point that just really took a shift in my life, because I have to say right now we have a lot of teachers struggling out there, whether it's your first year or you have 20 years of experience. So what I'm trying to say is that I know it's hard during this virtual world to touch lives. Sometimes you're seeing like, hey, I don't know if I'm touching people's lives as I would be if I was in the classroom. That's why I'm bringing this today, because we're having a discussion regarding coming back to school. And I know our educators are struggling, our families are struggling, because this is not an easy decision. It's not. For me, that educator that existed in La Granada and ended his career at Wells was that person, was that educator that touched my life. And I am the woman I am today because of that pivotal year. So his name, I mean, maybe some of the Wells people in our crowd tonight, in our evening watching this, they might still remember him. His name is Mr. Greg Mitchell. Greg Mitchell, and I think it's alignment of the stars. I was cleaning out a room in my mother's house this past weekend, and I came across a treasure box where I kept, just little knickknacks from that I thought were important, valuable treasures of my youth. I had fairy teeth that never made it to the tooth fairy. But I actually had a box where I kept a gift for Mr. Mitchell. He took time out of probably his own pocket money to provide us a gift at the end of the school year. He provided us all in his 6th grade class these pencils that you see here that had engraved our names, and it was something I treasured. And I started reflecting on how he has touched me and how important that year was for me and how it impacted me to just become a better student, reach for that 4.0, how impactful that was in middle school when I went to Wells, then in high school at Norte Vista. And the reason I bring this up today is because I told you, right now as educators in this virtual world, we're being faced with challenges as are we touching our students' lives? We're in a situation where digital is just not the same. So having said that, I just want to say it's important to build relationships. And I hope we can explore that further when we're discussing how we're going to return back to school. I also, last month when I was here, I forgot to mention that last September, I attended a Zoom meeting with one of our counselors in our district. The Zoom, it was a panelist, and the theme was called Beating the Odds. And beating the odds is where I am today because of Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Greg Mitchell, a 6th grade teacher. Beating the odds when odds are stacked against you. So because we're in the full swing of college application, I just wanted to kind of tie it all in, that I just want people to have those relationships, whether it's their teacher, their counselor. We're here to help you. We're in full swing, and I want to make sure you reach out to people that are going to help you, because this is a short window right now. It just opened up on October, and it's ending this semester at the end of November. And that really does conclude my evening comments today. And I do want to say that through the Family Engagement Center, there's going to be so many Zoom meetings, so many opportunities for engagement. I think just yesterday I missed the Dia de los Muertos community event, art event. So I just want to let parents, as we see here today, just engage, because there's definitely opportunities. I hope we can touch your lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dorado. Beautiful. All right, we're going to go to Mr. Schwant.
Well, thank you, Ms. President.
You're welcome.
Well, just a couple of pretty short things. But number one, the presentation and the honorees tonight from Wells. Great job by Karen getting that setting up and presenting it. And the honorees, congratulations to all of you. Arturo, Cyril, I see you still part of our meeting, so congratulations.
Yes.
Last meeting, we talked about some recognition outside and some partnering with La Sierra University and Kaiser and what they had done. Carolyn mentioned with the county now and some partnership with them to get us some funding. Also, we have another one in our agenda with the city of Riverside that we're going to be talking about tonight. It just goes to all of the board members and our staff, our administrative staff, how we're integrating into the community and really trying to make it a community district that we can be a part of. And I want to thank Alan, you and your team for what you're doing to get out there and reach beyond our borders into the community, and to the board members for the job you're doing every day. Let's see, Kevin is still here. I don't see Dusty, but I called upon him pretty late today on a couple of my questions I had on the board package, and I got responses back very quickly. So thank you for that. I know it was under a short time frame, but I do appreciate it. And then the last thing would be for Carolyn Wilson. Carolyn, I think, is the most senior member of our board right now.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to
Our board. I didn't say 8, it's our board. But for what we're going through and what you hear us talk about on COVID and the changes at our schools and everything going on, as the president of our board, she's had to keep that all organized. And we've had many more meetings, many more hours that we're putting in. And Carolyn, thank you for keeping that organized and keeping us focused on what we're doing. And I do appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate those kind words. Thank you. It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
That's it.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Schwant. Okay. Ms. Vega.
Awesome. Okay, so I wasn't going to say anything, but now that Dr. Dorado brought it up, I actually had Mr. Mitchell as my 6th grade teacher, and that was his last year. He had to leave before the year ended, actually. Great influence. It's an amazing teacher. But also, thank you to everybody at Wells who was recognized tonight. What you do for our students, whether it's teaching them or supporting them or keeping the campus clean, honestly, it makes a big difference to them. And I live right in front of the school, so I see it every day. And it's beautiful and it's great. Having gone there, I'm so glad that we still have teachers and people there on that campus that really care. And I know everybody in this district cares. A couple of events that I did this week was the Dia de los Muertos, the virtual art class. And it was just a little summary of what Dia de los Muertos is. And, I've known about it, but I think I learned a lot more that day. And then, so thank you, Ms. Huerta. She was helping us create our altars. And mine was my grandma who passed away in May throughout this whole COVID, not from COVID, but from, it's kind of hard when you can't have all your family members there. So it was kind of fun. And through all this, it's stressful, but even just drawing, it really relieved some of that stress. It really just kind of distracted me from everything that was going on. So I had a great time. And thank you for all of our parents and students that showed up and who turned in their little art, their designs. So that was great. And then yesterday, I was able to visit a couple of virtual classrooms. I physically went to Arlanza, kept our distance, masks and everything. I got to see what a classroom would look like if students went back. And I saw some classrooms virtual, and I miss everyone's face. I miss all the kids. I miss going into the elementary schools, and everyone's so happy, and they don't know you, but they're so happy to see you, and they give you a high five. So it's different, but definitely I love seeing how the teachers, they're adjusting to how this distance learning is, and they're just getting the hang of it, and they're experimenting too. Sometimes you don't get it all right, but when you do, it's great. It's a new way to learn, and I'm sure the students appreciate it too. So I was at Arlanza and Terrace, saw the dual immersion classes too, and how that is. Math, I know math has not been easy for a lot of our students right now, but we're all trying. And then I went into one of the Novi classes, the Avid classes, and they were doing tutorials. I was a little triggered because I'm like, tutorials, and I saw like the sine, cosines. I'm like, I don't remember any of this, but it was great to be back. All of the tutors are great, and they're helping the students there. And I think right now they're working on, I saw the junior class, and they're looking at what kind of colleges they want to go to, whether it's private or public or away from home or local. So all of that. So I had a great experience in the virtual classroom, but I hope whenever it's safe to do so, to come back to get everybody together. And I think that is it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Vega. And last but not least, Mrs. Marino.
I have to tell you again, going back.
I know, I'm sorry, two times.
No, it's great. It is so great because I feel like I'm just bursting with joy hearing everything that all of you all have said. It obviously makes my list, shorter and shorter and shorter because you guys are so wonderful and you touch on everything great that's happening. I just wanted to really congratulate all of our honorees this evening. The Phoenix has really just risen, and Wells is a tremendous school. And if you haven't had an opportunity to go by there and take a look at the amazing things that they're doing, oh my goodness, when we're able to come back on campuses, I urge you, please, 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 I'll go with you. Go and look at the stuff that's happening there. Miss Roboto is absolutely amazing. She works hand in hand with her team. That's one of the things that I admire most about her style is walk with me through this journey. And you need leaders like that, especially when you're going through a pandemic, that you know will be understanding and give you 100% of their support. She is exactly that leader. And it's shown. Attitude reflects leadership. And when I saw all the amazing honorees this evening, their faces were absolutely beaming. Carolyn, you were 100% accurate on that.
They were.
Parents, we talk about the role that our parents play in our students' lives. And I personally believe they are your first teacher, right? Your parents are your first educator. And to see the passing of the baton with our most precious children to school sites and their teachers and their administrators, it takes a lot of trust. And to see our parents this evening who were honored, we talk all the time about how important the family unit is. And there is a mom and dad together just running the halls of Wells, making sure that our kiddos, not just their own, that's the beauty of this, not just their own, but every child on that campus can feel their support, their love, and their, I always go English, Spanish, apoyo. They get their love. They're just, it beams through those kids, and it makes such a difference. Dr. Dorado, sharing your story, and Miss Vega as well, how your lives were impacted. I mean, that's the center. That's what we're all here for. So thank you for sharing your stories, and more so to the staff, not just at Wells, but of course they're honored here tonight, and but all across the district. We are going through some difficult times, right? We're navigating through uncharted waters. But I have to tell you, I have never been more confident in a group of educators, professionals, to just go and see the campus of Wells. We talked about Antonio earlier, the pride, the work ethic. This is my school, and it's going to look like if you came to my home. That sense of pride, Alvord has it, and we are oozing it all over the place. So I just thank you all for just, again, showing us grace as a Board of Education. We're going to be talking tonight about the question that's on everybody's mind: when and how will we return to school? And it is not one that is going to be taken lightly. We encourage you to continue, like Ms. Wilson said, participating in our thought exchange. We are truly together in this. So knowing and feeling that support from all of you as we were looking through the thought exchange, you realize that these are not just words. We really are in this together, and you are taking the time to fill out and share with us your thoughts, and they are heard, and we will continue to talk this evening. I'm very excited about that. So I will close, because I want to get to that conversation with, again, thank you to every single staff, student, cabinet, superintendent in the Alvord District Board. You are amazing, and I am honored to serve alongside of you. Have a good evening, y'all.
Aw, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Marino. And now to close us out will be Dr. Muzzarino.
Well, thank you, Madam President, and thank you, members of the board, for the kind and heartfelt words in watching Gael and Jackie and Antonio, Sadia and Arturo. It just brought me right back to Wells last year when we were all there for the Avid event, if you recall, I believe. And I don't even know if it was last year or the year before now, because time just seems to be a blur to most of us these days. And I know that Trustee Vega was there speaking to the students on her journey. And here she is on an elected official on the Board of Education. Oh my gosh. And Dr. Dorado, a Gates Millennium Scholar, fellow educator, counselor at one of our neighboring districts, Dr. Dorado as well. And I know that the entire board was there, because I remember all of us just beaming, a word that we heard a lot earlier today, because whenever our principals are talking about their kids and their community, you can't help but beam. And my fellow governance team members, I think, really said it beautifully. But a lot of words come out of all of our mouths, right? That's our jobs. But the ones that you're hearing are the ones that come from our hearts. And I know that you all know that we are doing the very best we can under the most difficult of circumstances. And you know what? We are doing it well, thanks to our teachers, our staff members, our leaders, our governance team members. We are making the most of a very challenging situation, and we will come out of this and we will be better. We will be better students. We will be better parents. We will be better governance team members, better employees, better principals, better at everything we do, because we are in a learning mode. We are in a mode that provides us with opportunities that we've never had in the past. Now, we wouldn't wish it on anyone, who would? But the fact that we have to work under these conditions and keep that focus on our kids. And we're doing that. And we will continue to do that. Tonight, we will have a discussion on all of the elements of reopening so that everyone recognizes the thoughtfulness. Not that everyone doesn't recognize that, but nonetheless, we want to go through many of the elements so that everyone is fully aware. Because this decision, and not only now, but over the course of the next few months, depending upon how everything unwinds, I believe it was Madam President earlier opened up with, who knew we would be here at this time on Zoom still talking about reopening schools. We all were sure we would have been over it after the spring, and here we are again. But darn it, we are getting better. We're getting better every day, and we are grasping this and looking at this as an opportunity to get better, and our children are the beneficiaries of that. So we're going to continue to serve our children, continue to serve our community, and continue to get better. And if we all get better, our kids are all going to get better. With that, I'll hand it back over to you, Madam President.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Miserino. With that, we're going to close the Board of Education and Superintendent's comments, and we're going to go on to the consent agenda. Your superintendent recommends approval of the consent agenda item 8A1 through 8D4. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted upon by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time of the board's vote on the motion unless members of the board request a specific item to be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. So at this time, are there any items that, can I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moreno.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Schwant. Any discussion? With that, we'll go to the vote. Dr. Dorado? Aye. Mr. Schwant?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Mrs. Moreno?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Okay. Now we would normally go to items taken in closed session. It would be a readout. We have nothing to read out from closed session. So we will go on to business services. 9B1, agreement for CARES Act funding supported for All for One campaign. This was what we were talking about that I spoke about in my comments. So at this time, I would like to ask for a motion, please.
So moved.
So moved.
We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, with that, we're going to go to a vote. Dr. Dorado? Aye. Mr. Schwant?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Ms. Moreno?
Aye.
And Ms. Wilson is an aye. All right, 9B2, City of Riverside Distance Learning Program, Memorandum of Understanding. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Vega. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second and a third, so we're covered on this one. I like it. All right, is there any discussion?
I just want to say thank you to the City of Riverside City Council for when this CARES Act money came, they wanted the input from the city. Where should we put this money, and people wanted it to go to local education, to our school districts. So because of that, now we have this money. So I really appreciate everything that they're doing to help support us.
Absolutely. I think the Board of Education echoes those same exact sentiments. So thank you. And thank you. Give Steve our big thanks, a big hug from us. So
And-
thank you very much.
Madam
Yes.
President, if I
Absolutely.
may, just to add to Trustee Vega's comments, the amount of money between both the city and the county is over $800,000, allowed us to ensure every child has a hotspot, some two if they're in a multifamily home or many children sharing the broadband. Not to mention all the Chromebooks. We have purchased 20,000 of them. We'll hear a little bit more about that a little bit later in the discussion. So the county allocated some $10 million to school districts through the CARES Act funding, which was distributed around the county to ensure that all of the families that were impacted by the digital divide still had the opportunity to learn. That's called equity. And we are now all learning about what equity is at a time when it's become crystal clear. And it's about time. And as we continue to erase that digital divide, we're also going to erase that achievement and opportunity divide at the same time. So when I talk about silver linings and I talk about us as an education institution, as a country being better when we're through all this, this is one more example of that. Thank you for that opportunity, and thanks for indulging me.
Thank you, Dr. Miserino. All right. At this time, if there's no other discussion on this item, we'll go to a vote. Dr. Dorado?
Aye.
Mr. Schwant?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Mrs. Marino?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Okay, we're now going to go to Educational Services, 9C1, adopt annual resolution 24, lights on after school expanded learning. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Okay, with that, we'll go to a vote. Dr. Dorado?
Aye.
Mr. Schwant?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Mrs. Marino?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. We'll go to 9D1, as Human Resources, approved personnel order 05-2020-21. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, with that, we'll go to a vote. Dr. Dorado?
Aye.
Mr. Schwan?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Mrs. Marino?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. All right, we're going to go down to 9D3. Oh, we're going to conduct a public hearing, sunshine negotiations between Alvord Unified School District and the California Schools Employee Association as its Alvord Chapter 339, 2021 school year. Do I have a motion to open?
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, we did. Let's do this and I'll go back to that one, okay? I apologize. So we're going to do the open, the conduct hearing. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll
Thank you. A second, thank you very much. And we're going to go to a vote. Dr. Dorado?
Aye.
Mr. Schwan?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Mrs. Marino?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson is an aye. With that, is there anybody that would like to speak in this public hearing? Okay. With that, no one's speaking in the public hearing. We are going to close this public hearing, and I need a motion to close the public hearing, please.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. What we'll do is, Dr. Dorado, please vote.
Aye.
Mr. Schwan?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Ms. Marino?
Aye.
And Ms. Wilson is an aye. Okay, we're going to go just to the sunshine proposal, then I'll go back. 9D4, sunshine proposal for Alvord Unified School District 2020-21 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, with that, we'll go to a vote. Dr. Dorado?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Swan?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Miss Marino?
Aye.
Mrs. Wilson is an aye. Okay. And now we're going to go back up to 9D2, adopt annual resolution number 25, week of the school administrator. How could I miss that one, right, guys? Come on. No.
Big
All right. I know it's a very big one. All right. I apologize to all the administrators. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, I got a first and a second. Is there any discussion?
No, just want to add that I know we already said everyone's doing the best they can and everyone is amazing right now. But our administrators are really going above and beyond. They're putting in so much work and they're doing a fantastic job. So thank you to everybody.
Yes, thank you. She speaks for the entire board when she says those sentiments. Absolutely. We appreciate you and everything you're doing. All right. Thank you, Ms. Vega, for that. We'll go to a vote. Dr. Dorado? Aye. Mr. Swan?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Ms. Marino?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson? And I'm. Okay. I think this is what everybody's been waiting for. We are finally at discussion items. The Board of Education, the Superintendent, 10A1, and we are going to be discussing the reopening of schools timeline. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Muzzarino and his phenomenal cabinet.
Well, thank you, Madam President. The Board of Education directed staff to prepare to discuss reopening and provide a framework for the discussion. We have taken the opportunity to craft a presentation to guide the dialogue and the discussion. We are, of course, open for any questions from the Board of Education at any time. So I will lead the way through and hand it off at various times to various members of my team. And then we will answer all of the questions of the Board of Education. And know also at those who are regular readers of the weekly, hold on a second while I'm trying to get this share screen going here, excuse me. Okay. Everybody could see that here in the room?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Those who read the weekly newsletter know that I answer all the questions that come my way, the frequently asked questions, and many of those will be answered in this presentation as well. Virtually everything that I covered this most recent Sunday in our roundup will be covered here tonight as well. We want to make sure that everyone is current with where we are and what it looks like moving forward. Again, in recognition of the fact that these are very, very challenging times for everyone. So let's begin. I want to start off with a public service announcement on behalf of the Alvord Unified School District and the Riverside University Health System, the Office of the Public Health, Dr. Kaiser, and his team, because we need people to test. Yesterday there was a press release, and you could see right here, more residents needed for COVID testing to slow the spread and remain in the red tier. So on behalf of Dr. Kaiser and the Riverside County Public Health team and the Alvord Unified School District, we encourage you to test. Here's the website up here, and this presentation, of course, will also be on the website. If you've missed that address now, you could get it later. Get all the answers about COVID testing, answer the questions, do I need to get tested for COVID-19? And there's some instructions on that, and of course it's in multiple languages. So please, members of our community, we'd appreciate you test on a regular basis, and let's all continue to work together to slow the spread of COVID-19, so we could all get back to normal. Let's start with some upcoming dates. October 13th, next Tuesday, is week 3 of the COVID-19 risk status. At that point, we will know where we stand, be it the red tier or the purple tier, which is possible based on the most recent data that came out this week. We'll talk a little bit more about that. October 19th, which is when the window will open for families to choose their second semester program choice. Remember, we asked everyone in July to choose whether they wanted to do the virtual or the hybrid program in the first semester. And that's how we went ahead and planned our schedule, assigned all of our teachers and other staff members. And now we're asking again for the second semester, as we had intended all along and as we had discussed earlier. So that window will open on the 19th and it will close on the 30th. October 26th is the earliest date we've identified to be able to open some learning centers for some of our children who have exceptional or extraordinary needs. These could be anything ranging from not having a workspace to do school, to being in a home that even with Wi-Fi still does not provide connectivity. It just depends on where the house is located and how the house is even built. We've identified some families who still struggle to maintain that connection to take advantage of the education. So we're hoping that by the 26th, I shouldn't say hoping, we are planning by the 26th to begin to open up some centers that we will be able to utilize for our children who are unable to connect. October 30th is also the day our
Alan?
second. Yes, sir.
Question on the learning centers. You said we're going to find locations. Are they going to be school locations?
No, that is
locations?
Yeah, that's a partnership with the city. They are not school locations. They are city locations. They are centers that are not being utilized as a result of COVID-19. So we have a couple identified around the La Sierra community and the Arlanza community that will serve a small number of students. But again, our most vulnerable students who are unable to access the internet on a regular and consistent basis.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And that's another example of the power of community working together. As I've also reported in my newsletters and here to the Board of Education, the community have been all working very, very diligently to come up with solutions for the families and the children who still are unable to connect on a consistent basis. October 30, again, is when the window closes, and that will be all through principals. So principals will send to all of their families, both in virtual and in the hybrid program, and ask them what they want to do second semester. The reason why we're asking for that decision on October 30th is because it requires a tremendous amount of planning. So we may have many students who are currently in virtual that want to go into hybrid second semester if they feel like things will improve dramatically, or maybe their conditions in their homes have changed, or many perhaps in the hybrid who may have a change of thought and mind and decide they want to stay virtual for the second semester. So again, we need lead time to be able to do and make all of the program changes, in some cases reassignments, and we also, of course, want to give our teachers, our staff, plenty time to plan ahead, because teaching in a different model brings with it a new set of challenges, right, when we have gotten very, very good at working in this current model. So we want to give everyone ample time. November 2nd is the earliest that we could reopen for in-person learning with the hybrid model, if in fact our conditions continue to improve and not move in the other direction. The second would allow us to give our families and our staff 2.5 weeks, assuming we're able to make that decision after next week's report, which is, as I reported, on October 15th, next Tuesday. Yes.
So if we, for some reason, open on November 2nd, people wouldn't be able to switch from hybrid to virtual, right? They wouldn't be able to choose. They would stick with what they had originally chosen, whether it was hybrid or virtual.
Right. Well, that's a great question as well. And remember, we ask families to make a choice for the semester because we can't change on the fly. However, we also have written and will stand by working with our families on a case-by-case basis. So let's say, for example, someone's conditions in their home dramatically change, or let's say a child who was intended to come back now has a particular health condition and is unable to. So we're going to work with our families through their schools, working closely with principals, teachers, and their site teams, and work with our children on a case-by-case basis who may have a new set of circumstances right now. But for all intents and purposes, we ask families to stick with the model that they've chosen because it's virtually impossible to start changing at this juncture and have to reschedule students or even teachers at this time. So that would be more disruptive than anything else. But thank you for that question. It's a good one.
Dr. Muserino, a question over here.
Yes, Dr. Dorado.
My question is more surrounding, I'm looking at neighboring districts. I think a lot of them within this week or window, a lot of them are having discussions of where we're at in our county and the potential of opening. So I've heard here and there some districts making decisions or stance on certain openings, but it's still being decided as you're presenting today. If we were to not reopen school-wide on November 2nd, you did mention these learning centers. Would we have the ability to provide small group after-school tutoring or some type of tutoring for the remainder of the semester to help students at a smaller capacity, similar to what we're doing to sports, where kids are able to go on campus in a smaller, more protected, safety measure.
Right. Well, yeah, good question. Thank you. Dependent on the conditions, of course. If we were, like, for example, our after-school program, we still have it, but it's not in person. So if we were able to provide in-person instruction support at some point, that would be its own discussion because there's a lot of factors involved there. Obviously, with staff coming back with children, so a lot of other things would have to happen as well. The learning centers, this concept of identifying our most vulnerable children and providing them additional supports is really where our energy is being spent at this time, and continuing to find new remedies and new solutions and new ways to be able to meet the children who you mentioned would really greatly benefit from additional support. So I think it's a matter of us continuing to pursue the children who are not engaging at the same level they should be. And when we do identify those children, if there does happen to be a connectivity issue, to tackle that. And again, look at some of these centers that could help us serve the children who need additional assistance and may very well benefit more significantly by being in person. Now, there's also waivers and guidance from the state on programs specifically for children with exceptional needs, children who have a disability, the moderate and severe children, the moderate and severe program children, rather, who we are also talking about bringing back onto campus. And we are in the midst of negotiating and talking about that as well. And we're hopeful that perhaps by October 26th, we might be able to bring back some of our small groups of children who are in the moderate and severe class. Again, we're really trying to identify the children who are most vulnerable and who remote instruction is very, very, very difficult, and we can't come up with other solutions. And it would appear as though in-person instruction, which is why the state is encouraging districts to do it. So we will report back to the board on that at an upcoming board meeting. Did I answer your question? It was a long answer to a short question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then November 16th is the end of the first semester.
December.
What did I say? Oh,
November.
sorry. Yeah, December 16th is the end of the first semester. So again, that plays in as well. So when you look at where we are in a week and 2 weeks, and then you start looking at between now and then, you have Thanksgiving week off as well in between. At some point, again, you wonder, is it more disruptive than not? So again, these are all the things that we'll be talking about. And then January 4th, which is the beginning of the second semester. And I addressed this also in my newsletter this Sunday because many, many family members have expressed, or many people, period, I shouldn't say family members, well, Alvord family members, because it's so close to New Year's and the holidays, opening on the 4th, knowing that we would not have accurate data from our regarding our risk by that soon after the Christmas and holiday season, New Year's Eve, and so on and so forth. So that's something else that we'll need to discuss and take into consideration as well. But that's certainly something I know all of the districts are discussing. Because many are scheduled January 4th or January 11th, and most are looking now at, dependent upon what the conditions are at that time, of looking at waiting until there's data based on the holiday. Because even with everyone trying to be very, very good, it's still the holidays, and there likely will be some gatherings. But we're not going to make any assumptions on that. We're going to use science and data. Some more dates, the fall sports calendar. In discussing this with the commissioner of the CIF, the seasons are moving forward. Obviously, all of the counties in the southern section, there's like 7 counties. Some are in the red or moving towards the orange. Some have way fewer problems or cases than others. So their plan is to move forward with those who are ready. So you could see the first contests are in December. Cross country is right after Christmas. Football begins practice on the 14th. There's not a date for competitive cheer yet. The first matches will be boys volleyball on the 12th, then girls volleyball following the 19th. And then water polo, the first 2 contests towards the end of December. If you're wondering why all these sports are in the fall, typically some of these are winter or spring sports, is because CIF divided everything in half, and there's only fall and spring this year. So everything was moved around for those of you who may not have been following closely. Just to provide some context for those who maybe aren't following it as closely as others, this is the state's tiered systems. We started a month ago in the purple, and then we moved to the substantial or red tier 3 weeks later. We currently, however, have moved back up to 7.6, which puts us back into the purple tier in theory. Now that is not updated for another week, but it's moved in the wrong direction. So has the positivity rate, which has moved up as well. Again, for a little perspective, these are our current numbers right now, 6.8 to 7.6, which is a purple tier number. The 5.0 is still the red tier. And then just for comparison, September last week, we were at 6.7 and 4.8 and 6.0. And a week later, 5.0, 7.6, 6.8. So we're unfortunately moving in the wrong direction, which is again why it's so critical that members of our community, all members of our community, get out and test. And hopefully we're going to be able to increase the number of our community members who test, which would provide us with additional information to make these challenging decisions. The expectation potentially is that we could end up back in the purple. We're already there for the new cases. We're still here in orange, in red rather, for the positive test. So we will see what happens this week if we're able to dip back down here. But if we don't, regardless of this, we will go back into the widespread tier, which is significantly different. Okay, we have an update from the Riverside County based on the current data, and this is from the Public Health Office, let's see if it's playing this time. If not, we'll go to Plan B. Board, can you hear it?
No.
Okay. In that case, then I'm going to quickly stop sharing that, and I'm going to go to a different screen. So bear with me, board and members of our community. I'm going to see if we could get it working this way as well. So hold on one second. Okay, so this is not cooperating today, unfortunately. Let me try it one more time, and then I will just tell you about it instead. Still no?
Yeah, can't hear it.
Okay. All right, well, in that case, let me just... Now? No?
No.
It's not even moving.
No? Okay. How about now?
I hear it a little bit. Just needs to be.
Really hard to hear.
It is, yeah, okay. Okay, well, let me just quickly share what Dr. Kaiser presented to the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, that the numbers are trending in the wrong direction, and he believes that there's a possibility that by next Tuesday, when our risk level is reassessed, as it is on every Tuesday, that we could likely be in the purple or widespread tier once again. And that's what he informed the Board of Supervisors about. And That, of course, prompted the press release relative to more testing, again, to continue to work together as a community to thwart the threat of COVID-19. Okay, let's continue.
Alan,
Yes, sir.
what does it mean to us as a district or as a board in consideration if we do move to the purple level in our decision making? How do we look at that different than we are at the red level?
Yeah, well, good question. We're address that a little bit later, but let me address it right now. When you're in a red, you are able to open your schools, all levels of schools, without a waiver by virtue of being in the red, as long as you meet all of the guidelines set forth by the California Department of Public Health. And we'll talk about all of those guidelines a little bit later as we continue to discuss reopening, and that's related to safety measures, testing protocol, and so on and so forth. When you're in the purple or widespread tier, you could only open in elementary schools and with a waiver that's approved by the county and the state. So that's really the likely outcome if, in fact, the state does drop us back to the purple tier, is that all districts in Riverside will have to apply for a waiver if they want to open elementary schools. And that's the difference between the two tiers. You have to stay in a tier for 3 weeks. So once we go to purple, we're in there for 3 weeks. And the only way would be, again, with a waiver, but then you'd have to have that waiver approved. And that, again, depends a lot on the local conditions, as well as your preparedness. Okay, Trustee Schwandt?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the equity metric, because this is something that was effective October 6th. Because a lot of the questions that come say, well, Riverside's a big county. We know there's many districts, well, not many, but there are some districts in some counties around the state of California, particularly really, really large counties that have communities that COVID's never really reached. So those districts are able to get waivers to be able to open up. But the question is, so what about our particular community? So that's what the equity metric is all about. So this was effective October 6th, and it ensures that the test positivity rates in the county's most disadvantaged neighborhoods do not significantly lag behind its overall county test positivity rate. So, for example, even if the test positivity rate overall for county might appear to be low enough to open schools, well, what about your particular neighborhood? What about the community that you serve within the bigger county? So when you look at Alvord School District, and you could see our boundary here, you could see that we have 6 census tracts that are in the 4th quartile. So how the equity measure this equity metric, it's calculated based on the most disadvantaged neighborhoods. So they look at the bottom quartile of all the neighbors. So if there were 20 neighbors, for example, then they take the lowest 5. So we happen to have the 2 primary zip codes within that 4th quartile. So we do have higher rates than the county at large as it relates to the positivity rate and cases. So let's talk now about feedback from our families. I know that a little bit earlier, Madam President thanked all the families for participating. And this first word cloud is from our students, and we had 2,226 who participated. Now, a word cloud is a way of gathering the sentiment of a large group, and it's known as crowdsourcing. And many of you know this, and we've certainly been using this tool for a couple years now, and have advertised it and talked a lot about it. It's a way for us to get data that provides an overall sentiment as opposed to specific data. Now, as also Madam President discussed, we do get to see all the comments individually, and they're all anonymous. And it's a wonderful way for everyone to express their feelings. But what we're really interested in with crowdsourcing is to get an overall sentiment. Where do most people fit in? And because the sample is a pretty good sized sample, we can generalize this information over the boundaries of our school district. So the children, our students, all levels of students were able to participate. You could see what stands out, and that's family and keeping their family safe. Students worried about getting sick, bringing home the illness, the risk on the family of students being out in schools and then possibly bringing it back, or even bringing it to our staff. So students very thoughtful and sacrificing, because I know the children want to come back to school and they'd love to get back to normal. But they recognize the responsibility they have as citizens as well as members of their family. So this is the students' word cloud. And it really reflects their commitment to their family and their community above themselves. I think they're to be commended for that. And again, there's 2,226 participants, 2,300 different thoughts. That means that some of these students gave more than one thought. And there were 44,608 stars, which means students went through and put 1 to 5 stars on the ones that they agreed with. Our families, our parents, we had almost 3,000, 2,893 participating, and they provided 3,440 thoughts. So a number of our parents provided multiple thoughts, and there were 96,603 stars. So let's take a look at the sentiment of our families. Very similar. Really worried now about the seasonal flu. Many of the comments had to do with being vulnerable because of the flu, the regular flu, just having colds, and being more vulnerable, having compromised immunity system as a result of just a typical flu season and being more vulnerable. So you could see words like weight and COVID and the seasonal flu and distance learning, safety, safety first. So again, our sentiments very, very similar. And I know that our staff feels very, very similar as well. So it seems as though many members of our Alvord community, regardless of your role, really do feel as though it's just a very, very fluid situation that raises fear in a lot of people. Board, any questions or comments before we move on to the next section?
No, not me.
No, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Presby, our HR Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources. And Dr. Presby is going to talk about the protocols for our staff as relates to COVID testing. So with that, Dr. Presby, take over.
Thank you, Dr. Musarino. So I would like to thank first my staff, especially Amanda Benitez, our benefits manager, as she's been very instrumental in this whole process with helping our staff stay safe and everything related to COVID as it comes into human resources and risk management. So special thanks to her, and she's available if we have questions. First, I'm going to start talking about the testing protocol. And at this time, we are not testing our employees, but part of our recommendation from the state and from the county is that we would regularly test all of our employees when we do reopen. We've looked at several options, and the ones we are looking at now would be a mail home test kit to our employees, They would complete the test and have a prepaid postage to mail it back. We will monitor to make sure that the testing is complete, but we are not provided any medical information, and that's related to HIPAA rules and employee confidentiality. We are asking that employees that do test positive to please notify the district immediately. Therefore, we can put the next steps into place. And this would go on every other month. So every employee would be tested every other month, and this would run through, it's projected to run through the school year, but we would defer to state guidance. I'd also like to thank both our associations, AEA and our CSCA group, as we've worked really well together over the summer to negotiate our reopening MOUs. And in there, we did talk about that the testing would be subject to negotiation. So each group, we have it in there that we will negotiate it. And we plan to do that relatively quickly so we can have a plan in place now that we have more direction on what the testing would look like. In the case of a positive test case, so in our district, if an employee tests positive, there are protocols we have in place. So if an employee tests positive at a work site, within the past 14 days, we'll notify all the employees who've been on that site. So the notification will identify that it will cover the symptoms of COVID and let our employees know that they should seek medical attention if they have any concerns or are experiencing any of the symptoms. They'll also be reminded that we do have COVID-19 leave available provided by the federal government. If necessary, we would provide any additional cleaning and sanitation that may be conducted, although that is something that we are doing daily. And also the employees are reminded that there is a no retaliation policy. And this is in line with the assembly bill that requires this. So again, if an employee tests positive, all employees who were on that site would be notified over the past 14 days that they were on site where somebody has tested positive. And then if through the information we gather, somebody was considered at risk of an exposure, which is basically working within that 6 feet distance, even wearing a mask for more than 15 minutes, they may be contacted and directed to seek medical attention. Now, there also is an outbreak protocol, and this would be in the case where we've had several employees test positive at a site. And the rule would be if you have 4 or more employees test positive at a work site with less than 100 people, or 4% of the employees at a work site with 100 people or more. So this would include our district office and all of our schools. Positive cases would be reported to our workers' compensation claim adjuster, and this would be to determine if the employee testing positive was related to work and then possibly be handled through our workers' compensation plan. Again, any employee who'd been there for 14 days would be notified, but once you have an outbreak, we do need to go back to the previous 45 days and inform all employees of the outbreak. So that's different than one person testing positive where we go back 14 days versus the outbreak where you do need to go back the 45 days. And if an outbreak does occur with the criteria listed above, we would notify public health and receive further directions. And any employee who tests positive for COVID-19 and believes it was work-related, they may file a workers' compensation claim. And again, if there is an outbreak occurs, when employees do file that claim, it would be presumed that the COVID-19 contact was work-related.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Presby. Any questions?
I appreciate the information. My question is, and I'm sure as many of our family members are out watching right now, what is the protocol for the breakouts for our students? What is the risk to our families, and what is the protocol that we have in place for that should it occur?
Yeah, good question, and that's the slide that's up right now. So thank you for that segue.
I have a question for Dr. Presby.
Okay.
Sorry, you mentioned the 45-day, and or if there's a larger percentage of a breakout, there'd be a 45-day going back. Would this include any contact tracing to maybe a visitor that came onto campus, or does that extend outside of the staff and teachers? I mean, including visitors, parents? I mean, how extensive are we talking?
Well, we do have our parents, all visitors should be signing in. As part of our MOU and protocol, though, our visitors should be limited to essential visits only. So that number should be 0 on most days. But I do know the 45 days does include our employees, and I do not believe it does include visitors at this time.
Yeah, let me add that we work with the Department of Public Health. So when we have a case, we report it. We do the initial communication, and then Riverside County assigns someone who will do the contact tracing, and then they will go to that next level, and they will interview the person that tested positive, and then get all the information, gather everything they need to know, to then go out and communicate that you had contact with someone who tested positive. So to answer your question, Dr. Dorado, the answer is that the contact tracer, with all the information that we provide them, will go out and contact everyone that the person reports and remembers they had contact with.
Great, thank you. And then my second question for the previous slide is, Dr. Presby mentioned that great relationship with our association regarding the MOU to returning back. Does he foresee, I mean, I'm trying to think of our teachers, right, getting on their heads of our classified and certificated. Is there any other portions of the MOU that would need to be revisited? So if I'm a teacher sitting down right now, is there anything else that is pending for negotiations if we were to ever return back?
No, at this time, and I don't want to speak for either association, but we are in regular communication. As I said, both MOUs are very comprehensive and have very specific guidelines for safety protocols that need to be in place prior to us returning. We did have a second follow-up MOU, I guess an amended MOU, that covered special education and some of the concerns and issues that would fall with that group. And the same thing, that we would be working with the associations if something were to come up, or the MOUs do indicate if there's new direction or guidance. As this has been a fluid and ever-changing situation, we do want to be cognizant that we can always come together to come up with new agreements. So the only thing that we did not completely negotiate out was the testing protocol. And really that is because there was no testing protocol when we signed our agreement. But we did leave a place in their MOU that we would come back and talk about it when testing was identified. And really it's just to ensure that our employees are safe and their rights are represented when we go through this testing protocol.
Dr. I do want to mention though that our levels of, the substantial, the widespread, that wasn't actually also in place when we negotiated our MOU. Do you foresee that as a new level of assessment for our state and county? Would that play a role in our MOU?
I don't see that playing a role. As we said, we made sure that we had our protocols in place. I would say it would change if the requirement of what a safe environment would be, let's say under minimal conditions, then we would need to go back and negotiate it. But as you'll see later in the presentation, and we've talked about this in an earlier presentation, our admin services team has done an outstanding job securing and getting all of the safety protocol, the PPE in place and equipment. So at this time, I do not see anything that we would need to change other than the testing.
I do have a quick question, just 2 quick questions for Dr. Presby. When you're referring to the 45 days, is that calendar or business day that we're counting from?
Calendar days.
Okay. And then the next question is, what protocols do we have in place for visitors as far as like maintenance? We have several big contracts that are out there to have things done on our campuses. What are they? Is there a sign-in method? What are we doing to keep them tracked?
Yeah, so for our regular maintenance crew, they would be identified on all their sites. So they're tracked. It's a great question. That's why we are tracking on what sites our employees go to. So as you know, our teachers could be working on site or remotely. And so if we go back 14 days, we need to know every teacher who reported to work on one of those 14 days. Plus, if the grounds crew was at that site, if any of our maintenance trades employees were at those sites, they would be included in that 14 days, or in the case of an outbreak, the 45 days.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Presby. Regarding Trustee Moreno's question relative to when schools are open or when children are on campus. So if there is a case, we report it to the Riverside County Department of Public Health. How would we know there would be a case? Well, someone would have to report it to us. That's not a legal obligation. We, of course, expect all of the members of the Alvord community, whoever that might be, student, staff member, or if a guest happens to be on campus, to let us know. We then report it to the Riverside County Department of Public Health. Then we inform the entire school community. So let's say, for example, school A, a student reports that they tested positive and we're able to confirm that. And we would send out a notification to the entire school community, all parents, families, letting them know that there was a member of the school community who was present on such and such a date, and they tested positive. Then we would inform the students who shared a classroom with that student. So in the elementary setting, of course, that would be more simplistic than at the secondary level, where students are changing classes, since they have 3 classes per day in the cohort model. So those students would be informed as well, because presumably they may very well have been in contact or within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, which is what defines close contact. Then the contact tracer that would be assigned to the case would then contact the families who they believe are in close contact. So we are not going to make the assumption that every child in a classroom was in close contact, but we'll still inform every student in the classroom, every student's family, so that they are aware and they can make their own decision on that, most likely monitoring their children more closely or maybe even testing. But the contact tracer will do what contact tracers do, which is interview the student and family and try to determine exactly who, if they happen to go into the restroom, for example, did they see anyone in the restroom? Were they there for a long enough period of time, for example? What about when they were out during lunch, for example? So that is the job of the contact tracer, to fully investigate, and then they contact all of the children's families who they believe are at higher risk. Trustee Moreno, does that answer your question?
It does. I just quick question in regards to when you say we will be informing. Will this be a phone call, an email? How will our families be receiving this?
Yes, that will be a phone call as well as a follow-up email. This is why we have been asking all of our families to update their contact information all year. We are diligently going through when we get return replies or no, this family's no longer at this address, to get the correct address. Principals are working at a feverish pitch to ensure that they could communicate with their families in the event of an emergency. Not only eventually when schools open again, in a case where they may have to contact a family of a child who has symptoms, but also now to be able to inform everyone. So yeah, so that will be a phone call and a follow-up email, and likely additional phone calls to make sure that everyone got the message.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Miserino, I just have a real quick question.
Yep.
As far as the contact tracing, what is the timeline? So we receive the notice. What's the timeline that this contact tracing starts, and how long does it take for them to complete it? Are they backlogged? So what does that look like to us?
Well, the county has well over 500 contact tracers. Now, Of course, what does that number really mean when you consider the large county? But according to public health officials, they do have enough contact tracers to be able to do this work. Now, of course, it's going to depend on just how many cases there are, obviously, but we believe that it will be immediate. The biggest wait really is for families to get the results or for staff to get the results. If they have symptoms and they test, hopefully they get those results within 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours. Right now, because there's not a lot of testing, the wait time isn't quite as long, but that could change, of course, if all schools are open or more schools are open and more people are testing, which we encourage. So let's say a student calls and says we tested positive, that phone call goes out immediately to everyone, all students, all staff, all families. Of course, protecting the privacy of the child or the adult, of course, that goes without saying that everyone does have a privacy.
The HIPAA laws still apply to COVID patients, correct?
Absolutely do.
Okay.
Absolutely do. And of course, as I mentioned, people have to tell us that they tested positive, and hopefully they will. There's some concerns because some people stigmatize people as a result of it. There's a lot of speculation about that as well. So assuming that our families do let us know, and I have no reason to believe they won't because it's, of course, confidential, then everything goes into motion immediately, and the contact tracer is also in motion immediately. So I'm sure that the county will provide us with more specific information as things move forward regarding the number of contact tracers. But at this point, they feel confident that they'll be able to meet our needs.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. So I'm gonna hand it over to Dr. Kemp to talk about education services and student services. So as I mentioned earlier, everyone is doing an incredible job. Our teachers, all of our specialists, it's incredible, and letting us know what they need, what supports they need, and then of course our priority, which is to make sure our kids are connected. What happens when students aren't showing up or they're not showing their video enough for us to be able to really tell they're engaged, and then utilizing a variety of different screening tools to again continue to reach out to our most vulnerable children. And Dr. Kemp's going to talk about what some of those services look like.
All right, thank you so much. It's my pleasure tonight to discuss our learning models and our multi-tiered system of support. So first, I'm going to just touch bases on what our student services are offering right now. As far as attendance goes, attendance obviously, is extremely important in learning. So when our students are not in attendance, our site makes phone calls home regarding attendance, both positive and negative. Our admin, our counselors, our student services director and coordinator are making home visits to our students that aren't in attendance to see what they can do to help support families to get their students online. Our families receive attendance letters, chronic absentee letters. We give site support with the district level calls to families of concern. We have re-engagement plans to support our sites. Monday virtual attendance reports. And so we're really all just working together to make sure that our students are here with us and are learning every day. And if there's anything that we can do to support our families, we are here for you. And that is why we're going out to your homes to see, how can we help you? What is the issue so that we can solve that so we can get our kids online. Go ahead, next slide. As far as school safety is concerned, we're partnering with our SROs. Our SROs are amazing connections with our kids in our schools, and the SROs really do help connect kids to school. and they can help address distance learning behavior issues if needed. We haven't really had any, so what they're doing are actually a lot of really positive reinforcement. They're there for discipline matters. Our student services will help us in monitoring Go Guardian, which is an amazing program I can't wait to tell you about when I talk about our systems of support. And one big thing for safety is we have new comprehensive safety plans that our director is working on. And so she's facilitating collaborative meetings with the fire department, EMD, law enforcement, and they're going to actually work with our sites to develop our safety plans. So the entire city will be involved in creating our school safety plan. So that's another exciting thing that's happening.
Yes, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. So we're going to start with our learning models. Before I begin, I want to define two terms that you are going to hear nonstop from now on. The first one is synchronous learning, and the second one is asynchronous learning. So synchronous learning means that students are learning in a live interaction with their teacher. So when they're online with their teacher, that's considered synchronous learning. Asynchronous learning is independent learning, where they're working on activities and assignments that the teacher assigns for them, but they are not live with their teacher. They're either not in class or they're not online. It's on a day that they don't have that. So right now, these models should look very, very familiar to you, because this is what we're doing right now. So right now, our elementary students, they have 4 days a week of synchronous learning with their teacher, and they also have an opportunity for office hours with their teacher during the day. Office hours are really, really important, because that's the time that students and or parents can jump in with the teacher and get additional support on strategies, on skills, on clarification on what they were supposed to learn that day, ask questions. That's your time to talk to the teacher. Fridays are an asynchronous day, and that is also an opportunity. They have longer office hours, and so they can jump in there and, again, get that intervention and support. For our secondary students, our students have 4 synchronous learning days. Monday and Wednesday, they go to periods 1 through 3. And Tuesday and Thursday, they go to periods 4, 5, and 6. Students also have an hour's worth of office hours every single day after school that they can go in and meet with their teachers to get intervention and support. Additionally, Fridays, their asynchronous day. In addition to working on the assignments or tasks that their teachers have given them, they have designated office hours. So a student actually has the opportunity to meet with every single one of their teachers on Friday to get extra help from them. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay. When it is safe for us to come back to school, we will be transitioning to the hybrid model. And the hybrid model is all about safety. And so what we have to do in the hybrid model is divide our students up into 2 cohorts, cohort A and cohort B. And that's purely because we only want 50% of our students on campus at any given time. And then, of course, that decreases our class size by 50%. So your student will have 2 synchronous learning days on campus and 3 asynchronous learning days. So cohort A will come to school on Monday and Wednesday. They will come to school for your regular school time. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, they will be home distance learning, engaging in asynchronous learning, as well as Fridays. It will be the same setup as it is now, asynchronous learning with the opportunity for office hours. For our elementary kiddos, during their asynchronous time, we might have things such as their PE, their music, some additional intervention time with them. Those could happen on their asynchronous days as well. Moving over to secondary, again, we have periods 1, 2, and 3 on one day and 4, 5, and 6 on another day. I've been asked a couple of times, why are we not going to periods 1 through 6 on these days? And we just can't do that for safety reasons, because we don't want our kids intermingling with 6 different sets of kids. We need to cut that down as much as possible, so they're going to stay in their block schedules. So again, Monday and Wednesday for cohort A, synchronous learning. Tuesday, Thursday, asynchronous learning, and then vice versa for cohort B. Friday is the same schedule. You have asynchronous learning, and then you also have the opportunity to go into office hours with each of your teachers if you so choose. Do you have any questions about our hybrid model, or are you good?
Yes, Dr. Kim.
Okay.
Would you say that with the hybrid model, there's actually less interaction, I guess, with teachers, that there's only 2 synchronous days instead of the 4 and then the 1 asynchronous?
That is correct. There is fewer synchronous days. There are 2, and there are 3 asynchronous days. That is correct. But
So
they have.
work.
I'm sorry.
More independent work.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, and they also lost, or they'll lose the office hour of the teacher at the end of each school day.
But their periods are longer. So if we're thinking about secondary, their periods are now 2 hours, and they're actually in there with the teacher. So what they would be doing in their office hours is embedded in their instructional time.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
I appreciate that you're sharing with us again, and we've seen the different models as we first championed it months ago. But I am very excited in listening and reading so much of our thought exchange from our students and our families, hearing from them about, maybe some of the struggles that some are feeling because they are distance learning. I really appreciate seeing or hearing much more from you and seeing in your presentation the steps that we've put in place. So it's really important for our families who are watching and our students who are watching tonight to know that those office hours are designed specifically with your student in mind, and we want to bridge gaps. I know that we've spoken, Dr. Kemp, on several occasions. We're here specifically to make sure that your student is being supported and you as a family are being supported. So thank you for just starting your slide presentation with those opportunities and helping our families understand a little better on it isn't just, a specific, it's a real thing that we want to make sure our families understand, and if they don't, reach out to us.
Right.
So thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Board of Education? And as Dr. Kemp is talking about it, keep in mind, it's just weighing things, right? It's weighing this versus that. Is it worth having children back in person for all the great things you get from that, but then you're giving up the consistency and the rhythm of the current model? So again, so many factors, so many things to consider. Which is why, again, we want to make sure that we answer all your questions and lay everything out for you and our community so that everybody is very clear on just the weight of this decision, no pun intended. Okay, Dr. Kemp.
Thank you. Okay. This is the exciting part. It's my favorite part. So I wanted to talk to you about our multi-tiered systems of support, and we have a couple of them. And over the last couple of years, we as a district have really focused on creating our structure for, it's called MTSS, and you will hear that all the time, all over the place. So that's what that stands for. And so our executive leadership team, which is made up of our amazing principals, came up with this compelling message, and I just love it. So we wanted to share it with you. In our collective pursuit of equity and access, Alvord recognizes and honors our students' diverse strengths and needs. Our multi-tiered system of support, MTSS, is the framework that fosters a culture where all students thrive. So I just love that, and I just wanted you to know that that's what guides our work. And so that's what you're going to see tonight when I talk about all the different programs we have. You can go ahead to the next slide. Okay. So MTSS comes in 3 tiers. Tier 1 are resources and programs that all of our students receive. Then we go up to Tier 2, and that's going to, we're going to go down to about between 10 and 20% of our kids, and those are going to be our kids that need an intervention. Don't go there yet. Wait, I'm going to go back to 1. Yeah, I'm just telling them what it is. Huh. And then when we get to a Tier 3 is our most vulnerable students. So when we get there, you'll know what I'm talking about. So Tier 1, these are our core instruction. And I'm going to start with talking about Go Guardian because some of these things are a response to distance learning. And, as we evolve with distance learning, things come up. And so Go Guardian is a response to our parents wanting more control over students' internet behavior. So on Go Guardian is an online student monitoring system, and it's going to help our students stay safe and scholarly while they're online and while they're in their virtual classroom. So basically, when students are logged into our network, their online activity is going to be monitored. And so we can help protect students from harmful or inappropriate content. So if a student tries to log on to somewhere where they're not supposed to, it will block them, but it also alerts our administration that those attempts are being made. And so then we can have conversations with the students and with the parents about how that's inappropriate and, that's not something we want to do. Another amazing thing is the teacher access. So with Go Guardian, the teacher portion, while the teacher has their students in their Google Classroom, they can actually see what's on all of the students' screens. So, for example, if they're taking a test, you only want that test in front of them. What's happening right now, and I know it's shocker and hard to believe, but sometimes kids have Instagram open or TikTok or maybe even a game, and they're not really focused on paying attention to the instruction. So what this will allow teachers to do is they can actually go in, they can send a private little chat to the student and say, hey, close your tabs, we need to be focused on this, or they can go in and close the tab for the student. So it keeps them focused. So this is going to be a great tool. We think it will, we'll have it within the next week or two, and our families will also be receiving an email with a memo discussing what Go Guardian is, and so that they can know all about it as well. And then our parent engagement coordinator will actually have a workshop to show our parents how it works. And then there is a parent portal where the parents can see what's going on in their online activity as well. So they will even be able to see how long the students are online. It's a great tool to use because sometimes if our students might be failing and the parent thinks like, gosh, I see them online all day. Well, unfortunately, they're only spending 10 minutes in their Google Classroom and they were spending, 50 minutes somewhere else. So it's just going to be a really nice tool to help our students stay safe and scholarly. So just want to put that out there. Another universal tool that we have gotten this year, which we're super excited about as well, is called iReady. And I think everybody has probably heard of that by now. And it's a diagnostic assessment for ELA and math. And so it allows for our administration and our teachers to assess our students' achievement level. And then, of course, they can analyze that data and then they can develop differentiated and adapted lessons for them at their various levels. So that's a really great tool. We just got that this year. Teachers have been trained and our students just finished taking the test. So they'll be able to start pulling that data now and creating groups for our kids. One great thing at middle and high school that we're doing, we're now partnering with California College Guidance Initiative, CGI, and that works to ensure that all 6th to 12th grade students in California have access to a systematic baseline of guidance and support as they plan, prepare, and pay for post-secondary education and training. This is going to follow them from 6th grade all the way to 12th grade. So we're really excited about starting this as well. And again, that's all online.
Phenomenal.
Yes. Along with all of the district-wide incentives or interventions that we're doing, we also allowed our schools to choose their own web-based platforms that are really focused on what their students need. And so I just wanted to give you an example of some of them. A lot of our younger elementary students are using a program called Seesaw. And I didn't know what it was. And actually one of our staff members was explaining it to me because her kindergartner is using it. So it's a place where students can engage with their learning in a creative digital platform. And teachers can assess students' learning. And then teachers can voice report for younger students to communicate and get positive feedback. So right now, especially for our younger kids, distance learning is difficult. And, this allows them to create a product, upload it into their portfolio. Their teacher can go in and voice record, hey, great job. This was wonderful. I'm so happy that you did this. I really like the way you did this, and maybe try this next time. And that's really important for our younger kids to get that positive feedback. So I love Seesaw for that tool that they have. And it also allows them, if you think about, little guys and when they're learning to, with mathematics, they have those manipulators on their desk and they move them around. Well, they don't have that in distance learning. And so Seesaw actually allows them to do that online, so they can drag, drop, and put things in categories. So it's a great one. Our older students are using a program called Kami, and it's a platform designed to turn an existing document into an interactive learning experience. So students can take a piece of text and they can put it into Kami, and then the students can annotate the text, edit the text. They can receive feedback from their teacher. They can collaborate with others. So it's a really nice tool to help engage something that's, just black and white on the screen into something collaborative. So we're really trying to tailor our programs according to the needs of our students. And that's why they might have maybe 3 programs they're logging into a day. Sorry about that, but it's for their benefit and it's to engage them and learn different platforms. So that's what we're doing. But of course, the number one intervention that we have for all of our kids is our teachers' amazing first best instruction that's standards-based. 100%. That is what is engaging the majority of our students that don't even need the intervention part. So we have all of these things are available to all of our kids at the Tier 1 level. Any questions about Tier 1? Oh, okay, you can, I'm so excited.
You did a great job.
Oh, yeah. These are so exciting. They're wonderful.
Okay, so getting into our interventions, Tier 2. So Tier 2 is, we usually only have about 15 to 20, sometimes 25 kids that fall into this category. So Tier 2 interventions are recommended based upon various pieces of data, like the iReady data that we have, or grades. They can be for specific lengths of time or be fluid, allowing students to have equal access, and they can jump in and out of the interventions as needed. So it's not just for particular students. Our most amazing structured intervention we have is with our elementary literacy teachers. So these amazing teachers are highly trained experts in literacy. Students are identified through assessments like iReady for intensive intervention that's targeted with literacy standards. So they meet with their literacy specialists at designated time for a designated period of time, which is usually about 6 weeks. Currently, we have about 7% of our elementary kiddos that are meeting with our ELTs. They will be assessed at their 6-week mark, and they will either stay with their ELTs or they will move out and they'll move new kids in. Also, and I love this part too, our ELT have open sessions to any student during office hours. So any student can also go in and take advantage of their expertise. So love that part.
That is.
Yes.
Very
all of our. Oh, go ahead.
Question. When you first started, you said that this might be 20 to 25 students.
No. I said Tier 2 interventions. We usually have between 10 to 20% of our students that are using. Yes, that are using Tier 2.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All of our grade levels have access to student study teams. So that's a process where a team meets with parents to assess referred struggling students on their academic progress and identify supports that might be needed for them, even as going as far as, testing them for special education, 504. So this is an intensive process that they can go through as well. iReady, again, an amazing program. Not only does it assess them and diagnose them, but K through 8, it provides learning paths for our students that are differentiated and adaptive for personalized support and intervention. So it adapts to the student and it's personalized just to them according to what the data shows. So that's a really great one. It's a tool for teachers and for students to use. Again, as Ms. Moreno pointed out, office hours, office hours, office hours. That's your first line. Go to your teacher. Your teacher is there to help you. Your teacher wants to help you. Please take advantage of their office hours. And again, right now, those are every day and on Friday. And if and when we go to hybrid, those will be on Fridays. Our schools are now that we have our iReady assessments done, and now that we have our first grading period done, schools are now developing their tutoring programs after school that will be targeted for specific skills, and they'll reach out to students. And I love what Dr. Dorado said, that it's about relationships. So one of our biggest interventions we're doing right now is personal outreach and connection. So again, we have our guidance counselors, our admin, going out to homes, making those home visits. How can we support you? What can we do for you? Because, they're not here at school with us. And so we want to see what can we do to help you. So that's a really big one. And then another really great program that our secondary, both middle and high school, are doing are staff mentors. So we have staff that is volunteering to take about 5 to 7 secondary students under their wing and watch over them, meet with them, help them connect to school, and just be that caring, listening ear. Then those students know that that person's in my court and they're going to check on me every week to see how I'm doing. So that's another great one. And then again, all the other things that are listed on there as well.
And how does a student team up with this mentor?
Well, if a student wants a mentor, they can actually reach out to their principal and ask for one. And then the principals and counselors are going to identify students that would probably benefit from mentors as well.
Exciting.
Yes.
They're really stepping out of the box. You see how much they are truly dedicated to their students, their education, and their well-being. Their well-being. This is incredible. I mean, we've heard all of this, but I'm so excited to see it in a presentation and shared out to our community, because we have done some amazing things. You guys have worked so hard, and these are incredible, just incredible. Thank you, Dr. Kent.
Yep. Okay, tier 3.
And we're still on tier 2.
Yeah,
I know. It's
tier 3. Tier 3 is only about 10% of our students, and these students must be referred and they receive individualized support. So these would be our students with IEPs. These might be our English language learners, and so they get specialized support, and you have to be referred to this. You can't just be in this tier. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that even with our tier 3 students, we're providing extra support for them. So our principals are paying our bilingual assistants extra hours to meet with our students after their school or after our bilingual aids contract time during the asynchronous learning time, so they can have that extra support that they may need. Because we know that we do have vulnerable students that need extra support. So we're doing everything we can to help reach them, in a difficult situation.
It's wonderful.
Okay.
Yes, incredible.
Next slide. Okay, we have an MTSS system for our attendance, and I kind of already talked about it a little bit, but just so you know, everybody starts in tier 1. Everybody knows you have an absence, you get that Blackboard call. You call and you verify the absence. In tier 2, if you have 3 or more missed we call them interactions, you're going to get a start letter 1, and you're probably going to get a personal phone call to just make sure everything is okay, make sure our student is okay, and is there anything else that we need to do. You might get a home visit if we can't get a hold of you. Tier 3 is intensive, and that is 5 or more missed interactions. And again, we're definitely going to go out and make that home visit for you to just kind of press upon how important it is to be in attendance every single day. Is there anything that we can do to help support you? So everybody is there, student services, our administration, counselors, everybody is there, because oftentimes, as you can imagine, attendance and grades go hand in hand, right? So if you're not going to school, you're not getting grades. So we come as a team to come and help you. Any questions about that? Okay. The next one is our social and emotional supports, and this centers around our counselors and our student services. So tier 1 is universal. So these are things that all of our kids receive. Some of the new things that we've done this year, of course, trauma-informed school-wide presentations. We've done that for our students. We've done that for our parents, and we're also doing training with our teachers. So that's a very important one for this year. We have bullying prevention, new student orientation, cyber safety, suicide awareness campaigns, cultural awareness. Those are all things that all of our students get. In addition, our counselors are ready and available for our kids. So counselors all have a Google Classroom that the students can log into, and they have resources posted. I know at least one of our high schools has a newsletter that they send out every month to all students and parents, listing all their resources. You can also go into the office hours for counselors and meet with them in a group if you like, or of course they will meet with you individually. They will give you a phone call. They'll even come out to your house if you need it. So our counselors are absolutely willing to help our kids. Tier 2 is more personalized support, and that would be our kiddos that are in small groups for a specific thing. They participate in our SART, which is our attendance, and also the student study teams. Our counselors are there, and they get individual counseling support. And then, of course, they're there for our parents as well. So they would help facilitate parent-teacher conferences or just have one-on-ones with the parent if they need that. Then we have Tier 3, which is intensive support. And as you can imagine, we do have these issues that come up. And so we will have small groups that are focused on a specific behavior or social emotional needs. We develop behavior support plans. Our counselors will refer to outside agencies like Wiley, McKinley Center, Care Solace. We have a ton of things for our foster youth and homeless, and I just kind of wanted to I was going to talk about what we're doing for them. Well, I'll get back to it, but they're doing all kinds of stuff for our foster and homeless youth, providing clothing, providing backpacks, school supplies. Of course, we have our amazing Alvord Cares to help provide food for our families. So again, families just reach out to us, and we will do whatever we can to help you with whatever you need.
That's incredible. Sherry, I have one question on this one.
Absolutely.
I just have a comment, I think. I think this is really wonderful that they're still doing coffee with the counselors on Tier 1. So would that be students come in, or is that for a parent? Or is that for both?
It could be both if they do it in
that's wonderful.
Yeah, obviously for the parents, but they have groups for kids during their office hours.
That's great. That's wonderful. So they're keeping when we have traditional schools open, they're keeping some of the activities and the connections with our community. They're still doing things like that. So I love to see that. It's wonderful.
Yep, and now that our progress reports have come out, rest assured they're making a lot of personal phone calls to students who need that support for their grades too.
I'm sure they are. Okay, I just need to hold on 1 second, Sherry. I need to ask the board. It is almost 8:30, and so we do need to extend the meeting. So can I please have a motion to extend the meeting till 9 o'clock?
So moved. Oh, second.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to vote. Any discussion? Okay. Dr. Dorado?
Aye.
Mr. Schwandt?
Aye.
Ms. Vega?
Aye.
Ms. Moreno?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wilson? Aye. Sorry about that, Dr. Kemp. I just had to do that before we were in violation.
So this is my last slide.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know, but it's a very, very important one. It's our family and school community.
Wait, Dr. Kemp, if I may
yes.
interrupt. Yes, sorry. I did have a question on the previous slide. Sorry.
No, yeah.
You mentioned Care Solace, and I know our mental health coordinator has mentioned that before too, but can you kind of summarize what that is?
Sure. It's a company that we partner with, and they give referrals. So you can call them and let them know, what you're struggling with, and they can refer you to outside agencies for intensive counseling. So our students can use it, our staff can use it, our community can use it. You just go on our website and click on that, and they will connect you with somebody. And it is an amazing program, and they send me updates, I think quarterly, about how many people that we're reaching. And I remember last year it was like almost 1,000 people had reached out to them to use their program. So that's what that's all about. That's something that we pay for as a district to partner with them.
Dr. Kemp, my question is surrounding the Wiley Center. That's another partnership that we have.
Yes.
So I'm tempted to ask, how are we working with them during this distance learning model that we have currently? If you can just kind of give us some insight on how that looks like this semester.
Sure, and Dr. Dorado, you know very well about Wiley Centers. You are a Wiley Center counselor. It's going to be the same as it is similar when we're in person. So we refer students to our Wiley Center counselors, and then they can meet with them virtually.
Perfect. I'm glad to hear we're continuing the MOU.
Of course.
Sherry?
Yes.
The multi-tiered system of support that we're looking at here, does this change whether it's a virtual or a hybrid situation that we're in?
No.
No.
No, these are all things that we offer our students all the time. We just have to change the platform that we use, depending on what's happening. So we're just having to change and do it virtually now, except of course the home visits. But they, everybody has just stepped up, and like I said, the counselors have created their Google Classrooms, their resource pages, their newsletters, whatever they need to do to reach out to our students and their parents virtually.
Okay.
And I think that we will continue to use many of these things that we're creating even when we go back full time, because they're amazing things to use and they just offer a larger outreach to everyone.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. You're welcome. Okay, so our last one, our tier 1 is universal. Everybody should be using this all the time. Aries Gradebook. We want our parents on Aries Gradebook all the time, and or Google Classroom, right? You can log into your student's Google Classroom and see what's happening, what's going on, what kind of assignments do they have. We have parent workshops, our videos, our family engagement office is amazing now. You guys have seen all the things that they're doing, so we're super excited about that. We have our regular ELAC, School Site Council, PTA, again, all virtual right now. And then, of course, our amazing website and the social media that you can just access anything about Alvord at any time, right? Tier 2, of course, you can get more personalized and you can actually speak with your teacher. We have the Remind app that I don't know if we talked about in open session, but that's it's an app that our counselors use. It's an app that sends a text to the kids and or parents, and they can get it, whatever they're sending out to them, but you can't engage with it. So like you can't answer it back and have a long big thread. But I love Remind. We use it at Hillcrest all the time. Speak with your psychologist. And then we also, of course, have intensive support. So contact the school office when you need intensive support. Contact your administration, or we can come out and help you. But we are here to that intensive support. We want to make sure we're meeting your needs right away. So contact us.
It's all about partnership.
Yes, it is.
And right now, more than ever, we need to continue collaborating with our families to ensure all of this is being done.
That's right. It's incredible. Okay. I'll talk about this one. So as far as our technology is concerned, we purchased and distributed 20,000 Chromebooks since summer. So it's so amazing. I love it. We're one-to-one district. All of a sudden, yay!
I've always wanted that. That's what we wanted. We wanted to achieve that. We're here.
Yep. And we did. I'm so grateful to our IT department and Ed Services to help get all these Chromebooks out. It's been wonderful. We've also purchased 1,300 hotspots for our students so that they have the Wi-Fi access. So, and thank you to all of our contributors that helped us pay for these things. So that's another amazing thing that we've done.
Dr. Ham, is the 1,300, the money that we receive from the city, is that included into the 1,300?
It is, yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kemp. Before we move on, a couple words on that information. We've talked about a lot of tiers, and that's TIERS. But it's not lost on us that there's also a lot of tiers, TEARS. And we've heard, and we know, and we've seen it, and we are so sensitive to it, the challenges that so many of our families are meeting, just getting their children online and in front of the computer. And it's just a difficult pill to swallow. All of these wonderful interventions, if the kids aren't there, they can't take advantage of them. So I want you to know that in discussing some of these challenges with our early literacy specialists who work with some of our children who are well behind, or some of our neediest of children, they're working around the clock, preparing, connecting with the families, trying to ensure that the children are coming to their sessions. Some are meeting with 60-70% of their children, some with more than that, but we certainly know that there are some children who are not on regularly, and that's why we're making these home visits. That's why we have these additional tiers. But also, board, of course, you know that we do these things all the time. Many members of our community, well, they never get to the second or third tiers because they're satisfied by the first tier. And you can't talk about pyramids in this era, this COVID era, without talking about the granddaddy of all pyramids, and that's Maslow's hierarchy. So I do want to make sure that everyone recognizes that feeding our children and ensuring that they're safe is also a major part of our work. School and education may be the least of some of our family's problems. So we are continuing to evolve in that area. Our child nutrition service move into this new model of grab and go, where families could get even 7 days worth of food, not having to go cross town for it. Again, our counselors and our triage teams working with teachers when we identify children who aren't present, to continue to provide these additional supports, these multiple resources, including Care Solace, Wiley Center, and others. They all provide services in multiple languages. They're all good at what they do, and they too are getting a lot of practice in the last 6 months or so, because everyone is committed to our children. All of this, wearing masks and being safe, is all about our children. It's all about getting kids back to school, getting back to work, getting back to life as we knew it. And I want to make sure that if you're sitting at home now, you're saying, well, that's all great, but my child doesn't want to get on the computer. They don't want to do it. They hate it. They cry. Please reach out to your principal, your counselor, and just continue. Don't give up. Just continue to work with us. I know our principals are making all kinds of home visits and working with our families, helping them get online or helping them talk to a child and helping them access the education that they so deserve. But as we continue to move forward in this environment, we have to plan for the worst. We continue to hope for the best, of course, but we have to plan for the worst. And if, in fact, we continue to have to serve our families remotely, well, we're going to continue to do that and get better and better at it and include additional services. I know that our teachers are just, like we all are, dying to be with our kids, to see them learn firsthand, look into their eyes in a way you can't do on a Zoom or Google Meet call. So again, I just want to emphasize to the board that the children who are the most vulnerable are exposed and provided to all of these tiers of services. And also our children on the other end of the spectrum, and the variety of different services that our counselors are providing to help children accelerate and continue to fly high. So being everything to everyone. That's what school districts are all about. That's what a teacher is all about, being everything to everyone. And sometimes that's hard, but it's not for a lack of effort on our part. So we're going to talk now about our facilities, our school safety plan. Mr. Emenaker, who's been in charge as the executive director of administrative services, has been working closely with our schools, our principals, as we prepare to open schools again, whenever that might be, to ensure when we do so, our families know that we have taken every precaution that has been recommended by the experts. And we're following those guidelines very, very strictly. With that, Mr. Emenaker, You let me know when you want me to advance the slide.
Okay. So I too want to thank my staff and everything they've done to help prepare with all these items that I'm going to share tonight. So go ahead. And so obviously with the decision of reopening the school comes temperature checks, and so we will be conducting a temperature check, and so and those temperature checks will be with students, staff, and visitors, and so that will be something that will take place. In our with reopening school, it's how to go about doing it, how to achieve this, and still ensure the safety with social distancing in mind, and with the number of students coming onto our campus. There's two different models that we'll be adopting or bringing onto our campuses, and so the one on the left is the detection kiosks. It's geared towards more of our elementary schools, smaller middle schools, and so that one is geared towards, again, the smaller class or school sizes. The one on the right is more for our high schools, and this is the rapid temperature detection unit. And these are the units that you'll typically see in the high schools, but you'll also see them if we ever get to opening amusement parks, airports, things of that sort. And it's geared towards, again, capturing multiple students, on up to 40 or 50 students all at one time, and capturing their temperature. And then in our offices, for those single situations when we have a visitor or students that might come in after the bell, they're starting the school, they will go to the office and do a temperature check. And that's what this device is for that specific purpose. And our school buses. And so I've been working really closely with our vendor for students and developing a safety transportation plan. And it involves, just sanitizing, the face covering, any of the protocols for the students as far as how they board on the bus, where they sit, in trying to ensure that social distance as much as possible. And so, again, that will be something that will be shared out to all the parents that will be utilizing our buses to get to and from school. Indoor air quality, and there's a couple of slides that we're going to talk about indoor air quality, and so our filters. And so I'm happy to report that all our schools, every air conditioner unit on our campuses have all been changed out with new air filters. And we have we're dedicated in replacing those more frequently this year. So additionally to providing good air quality is a air scrubber or a negative air machine. And what this does is basically takes the air, unfiltered air, runs it through this machine, and then pumps out filtered air. In a classroom, this will happen every 12 minutes. And so Dr. Musarino talked about the 15-minute rule. This will do it in less than that 15 minutes. So in 12 minutes, know that the students, the staff, they will be breathing in filtered air. And so that's, again, to help with that air quality. Then we get into our Clorox 360 machine. And so this was something that we had, adopted early on in March when schools were initially closing. And with that, again, sanitizing and disinfecting is going to be really crucial when we bring those students back. And so happy to report that our elementary middle schools have one dedicated machine, and then our high schools have two machines. And so that allows us to get to a point where we can do this disinfecting of the spaces every night. And so we're really happy that we have these machines.
Kevin, just real quick about the air scrubbers. Where do the air scrubbers go, and how many do we have? Just real quickly. I know we're running out of time, but I'm sorry. I just want to ask that question.
So every classroom will have an air scrubber. We'll also have these located in some of the common areas like the offices, things of that sort. And so, I guess they just require power, and that's about it. So
it's wonderful.
And I think district-wide, I think we have about 1,500.
Wow, incredible! It's incredible. Thank you.
And then when we're talking about air filters, we do have a log that we keep track of when the air filters are replaced. So keeping on top of that. And so, again, we're probably a month or two from start preparing to replace the filters again. And so we're doing this regardless if the students are on campus or not. And so because we do know that we do have staff out there, and for their safety, we'll be replacing filters for that. And hand sanitizers, we have hand sanitizers in all the classrooms. We have hand sanitizer stands, which can be moved around the campus, but they will be located at any of the entry points onto the campus, in quads, cafeterias, things of that sort. So we want to make sure that we have all that stuff is available for use by our students. Water bottle filling stations, and so we talked about this in our previous board meeting, and so we're in the process right now of replacing our drinking fountains with water bottle filling stations / drinking fountains. And so that's going to allow us to, again, the mouth to spout drinking fountains are something that we've been directed to turn off or disconnect, but this will bring filtered water. These are lead-free filters, and so it's going to filter out any possible lead. Not that we have any, but we do have older schools, and so that is always a concern in the back of my mind, as I'm sure it is with our staff and parents and students. But know that we're going to have filtered water for all our drinking fountains and water bottle filling stations. So our goal is to have that all in place by the end of December.
Wonderful.
And signage, and so you're going to see a lot of signage. I mean, right now we have quite a bit up right now, mostly on the doors, but as we get closer to reopening, we will see more signage that will be placed on the concrete, on the floors, things of that sort, to kind of remind students to keep social distance, and then any kind of directional arrows. And so some buildings might have multiple doors, and so there's going to be one set of doors might be for entry, whereas the other door might be for exit. And so that way we don't have a lot of commingling of students on our campuses, that they can, keep a nice flow and not, get too close to the other students. Protection barriers, and so we have these in multiple areas, reception, health clerks, and looking at other areas that where we have a high traffic, people coming up to public, from the public, coming up and needing services from our staff. And so we're as they come up, we're out there getting those things done. Protection barriers in our student privacy. So this is a barrier that would typically go in like a quarantine room. Again, it's you can still see that there's a body behind there, but the identity of that student is somewhat protected. And again, it keeps any kind of droplets from expelling outside of that area. So. And then our standard elementary classroom and our middle schools, keeping at least 5 feet separation. And in this picture, you can't see it, but we will have student barriers, the student carols, and those will be attached to the desk to keep them in place during the instruction. Additionally, for our teachers, we have rolling barriers that are movable. Again, they're lightweight, and so those will be put in place. And so here you can just see what a typical classroom might look like with either 15 or 18. And I think we've had some situations where we've been able to go up to about 20 chairs, depending on the layout of the room, and still maintain the separation. Our sinks, we talked about the water bottle filling stations. And so in this picture here, there's that mouth to spout drinking fountain that's going to be this disabled at this point, but then we're going to add in a water bottle filling station instead of that. So yeah, just going through classrooms and getting things ready.
Kevin, really quickly,
Yeah.
Are all these safety measures, are they in place now?
Majority of them are. I think last board meeting I shared a few that we had some dates going into mid-October, end of November. So for the most part, we're probably about 90% there. The one thing that's probably going to be a little bit longer is going to be those water bottle filling stations. Okay. That's just a lot of work, and so that one we're looking at the end of December.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And so here's another use for those protection barriers in our staff lounges. They're lightweight. Whether you have a rectangle desk or round desk, it doesn't matter. And then our labs, and so we have different models or different sizes, and so depending on the circumstance, we may have to get into a different size plexiglass barrier. So and here left-handed students, and so left-handed students, they have that elbow that hooks out, and so this these are easily adjusted and on the desk. When we talk about our athletic facilities and our conditioning and everything, and I just want to share that all the equipment cleaning, we're following the state guidelines, and so, and again with our facility cleaning, we're on schedule for daily and nightly for cleaning and sanitizing, and so we're following the state guidelines there. I talked about the ventilation and filter changing and the air scrubbers, and so all those things are going to help with keeping the air fresh in those spaces. Social distancing and face covering, we know face covering is required, and the social distance, that's going to be really crucial. That's 6 feet. And then we get into our testing protocols that Bob Presby talked about. And then our staff is trained and certified. And that's specifically our coaches. Our coaches had to undergo, through CIF, requirements to get certified, specifically for dealing with COVID and what, how to combat against that for their student athletes.
Kevin, you had mentioned before, and you did a great job. Thank you. Our buses as well have air conditioning in them now, don't they?
They do.
Okay.
They do, and so, but even though they do, with COVID, the recommendation or the guidance is to have the windows cracked open, and so that is something that I've worked with for student on and developing, in their safety transportation plan, and so it's like a 2-page document that will be shared with all the students that take the bus. So.
Okay, perfect.
So Kevin,
yes.
So we talked the last board meeting about things as they are continuing to come in. Of course, the supply chain is somewhat slowed down by the demand, of course. But as I understand it, it's only the water filling stations that would be coming in as soon as possible, hopefully in the next couple months. But the date we had discussed earlier for a possible earliest opening date of November 2nd, with everything else that you talked about, with the exception of the water stations, be in place?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. That's. I think that was the whole idea of my presentation last week, is really just to show that, hey, this is all the stuff that we can get in by that November 1st. I use the November 1st date, but yeah, just to give some assurance. And again, if there's the desire to open the school on November 2nd, we don't have the water bottle filling stations done across the district, then we'll come up with a temporary solution, or that we can come up with at the schools that don't have those water bottle filling stations at that time.
Right, such as little water bottles, for example, for little children,
Yes.
and so on and so forth. Right.
Yes. So I've worked with Eric Holiday and CNS to get that figured out, or worked out. So.
Right, our children will not go thirsty.
No.
No, thank you, Kevin. Again, all of these measures are all about encouraging behaviors. The signage that directs our staff, of course, helping our children, but it requires our students, our staff, to follow these guidelines, to report cases, to work together closely for the good of all of us. This could be something that will, again, go on for some time now, and coming together. I think there's a lot of wonderful outcomes from all working together closely in this time where there's so many problems related to race and ethnicity. My gosh, we're all people, and what a wonderful opportunity for all of us to work together, because as educators, we just see children. That's all we see is children. And when a child comes to school now, they're going to go through the temperature scan. They're going to follow directions from their principals and staff to stand in certain places. They're going to follow their teachers and the rules in the classroom and on the playground. But it's still going to be fun, because teachers know how to make it fun. And even with wearing face coverings and other things, we all know that teachers are going to make that fun somehow too. So I know that, even though it sounds draconian, and the idea of coming to school that is so structured in such a way that, my gosh, it seems like you're taking the fun out of it. Well, we're going to figure out ways to make sure that the children still having good experiences. But at the same time, of course, we need all of our children to follow the rules. And I know that some of the concerns that came through on the thought exchange was just that. Will everyone follow the rules? Will our students keep those masks on? Or when they're eating and drinking, when they can't keep it on, will they forget to put it back on? And all of these concerns that that we all have. We all share the same concern. So with that, Madam President and my fellow governance team members, that concludes the presentation part of the discussion, and we're happy, of course, to answer any additional questions that you might have.
I just would like to say thank you. As you can see, we've talked about how hard that this group has worked, and they worked from March 13th, and this is it. We're ready to roll, and they're doing a phenomenal job. The teachers are doing a phenomenal job. This is incredible, and you can see that we're ready to bring our students back, safety-wise. Again, we're really concerned about the purple and the ratings, and we have to, of course, go by Dr. Kaiser. So I just want to thank everybody for this presentation. It was incredible. It gave a lot of information, and I appreciate it, and it was wonderful. I would like, Alan, do you want to say what next steps might be so our community might know?
Yeah, so going back to the original timeline, which was the intent of our discussion today, was to create a timeline, whatever that might be. I recommend that we have a special meeting this coming Tuesday evening, at which point we will have the data from this week, and we will see if we are still in the red tier or if we are in the widespread and purple tier, because that obviously has a significant impact, as I discussed earlier. Also, the board will have this opportunity to really let everything tonight that we discussed and talked about resonate some. I'm sure you'll hear from many of your constituents. I know I will as well. And we'll take all that in consideration and continue the discussion on next Tuesday during the special. And if the board at that time determines that a decision could be made, then I believe that we should make that decision to determine the timeline for reopening schools, because people need to know. Absolutely. Everyone needs to plan. Everyone needs to prepare. And whether it's November 2nd, late, or whether it's second semester, whenever it's going to be, everyone just tell us so we can plan ahead, and everyone knows the circumstances we're under. Every district's doing the same thing, obviously, trying to figure out how to serve their community well, how to serve their children, and do what we do. So I think next Tuesday we'll have the additional information necessary to make an informed decision. But I do recommend that we let everybody know what direction we're going.
I agree 100%. I believe the board does too. I just have one quick question. We have another item on the agenda, and we have like a couple of seconds left. Is the thought exchange still open, Dr. Musamorino?
No, the thought exchange closed last night at midnight, so we had all the data for today. The next contact will be the survey to our families for second semester commitment, either hybrid or virtual. Doesn't matter what program you're in now. And then principals will talk more to their families about what that looks like. Because parents say, well, am I in the same class? Am I in a different class? How's that going to work? And they'll be able to talk about all those things.
So what I'd like to ask the community and our Alvord family, if you have any questions, or if you please reach out to the Board of Education again. Since this is closed, contact us directly if we want to hear from you, because we are having this meeting on the 13th. So please contact us.
Right, and of course, Madam President, we could certainly reopen the exchange, or we could start a new exchange. That's certainly something that if you feel it's in the best interest of our community, we're certainly happy to do.
I absolutely do. I think we should ask the board, though, who's in favor of opening another thought exchange, so the parents and the students and the teachers have a platform to share their thoughts with us. I think everybody.
The more collaboration that we can have with our community, the better served our community will be.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you in agreement with that, Mr. Schwann?
Yeah, I'm fine. Much as we can get, the better.
Okay. Ms. Vega?
Yes, and if more people that didn't participate before want to participate now, it'd be a great idea for them to do so.
Please, absolutely. And Dr. Dorado?
Hi, yes, Dr. Musamorino. So I'm very pleased with the presentation. But as you said, we have different timelines, and I know people want to they want to hear what our decision is going to be. Could we discuss any option for like an actual survey? So I know our teachers are meeting with students on daily. Is there any way between, I know tomorrow's office hours for Friday, is there any way to roll out some type of survey where we give like a Google form that could go out within the classrooms so that we can hear from maybe students themselves, teachers, and maybe parents somehow? Just the reason I say that is because we were given a task, and I would really hope to hear from everybody before actually making a decision. I think I hear the, I'm, you know what I mean? There's, whether I make a decision, I'm gonna make some people happy, and I'm gonna make some people upset. And
right. I think that's why we're going to extend the thought exchange. He's going to put it back up, and is that correct, Dr. Musamorino?
Yes, I recommend
And then we
we
can
just,
get everybody, and we can contact everybody and ask them to please be a part of that.
right. Well, I think we just reopened the exchange. I think as far as surveys are concerned, remember, we've asked everyone to already make their commitment for the first semester. In other words, all the families, if the decision was to open hybrid, then all the families in hybrid would be expected to come. And if they can't, because of, again, conditions that may have changed in their life or their home, to work with their principals to, on a case-by-case basis, determine how we're going to serve that child. But we would not be able to change everyone's schedule here, with 6 weeks left in the semester. For the last reporting period. So if, for example, we surveyed and we learned a lot of our hybrid families, for example, said, you know what, I think it's dangerous. I know, I felt July was a long time ago. Situation's different. I don't want to come. In other words, we again would really be faced with an impossible task of being able to ensure that they are going to have a continuity of their education plan for the next 6 weeks. So I think that in itself has to be part of the decision that the Board of Education makes. When we survey on the 30th, on the 19th to the 30th, and we learn more about what our families want to do second semester, I think we'll probably have a very good indication of truly how our families feel. But I think that the purpose of the crowdsourcing allows us to gather an overall sentiment, which then, of course, provides the board information. Now, is that everyone's voice? No, it's not everyone's voice. But remember, our principals are talking to our families all the time as well. And they, too, know that many of their families are anxious to come back, and many are not. And many have received calls asking what they could do if they're in hybrid and they don't want to bring their children back. And again, as I discussed a little bit earlier, the programs are set for the semester. So without it being an incredible disruption into a lot of the schedules, right when our children and our teachers, everybody's getting in a rhythm right now, would be incredibly disruptive. Does that make sense, Dr. Dorado?
Sure does, and I really appreciate just that timeline clarification again, that we will be starting to prepare for second semester serving individual families by the survey. And what I'm suggesting then, if we do have a significant change, we're willing and committed to make that adjustment to second semester master schedules, correct?
Correct. And we'll have ample time to do so. And again, a family might be saying, gosh, I have to decide by October 30th, but school doesn't start again until January, and who knows what the conditions are then, much like we asked in July. But of course, we have to plan. We have to reschedule children without disrupting their schedules as much as possible. It takes time. So by learning what program everybody wants on the 30th, then we have November. Of course, we're missing one Thanksgiving week, but we have November to start looking at our schedules, our assignments, putting the word out to teachers again, who maybe their conditions have changed and they now may need to change programs for one reason or another, particularly if they maybe have a health issue that has come up. It's going to take time to do it right, as we did it first time around. And of course, first time around, everything was crunched because we were expecting to open school on the 10th. So this time, we want to make sure that everyone has as much time as possible to plan ahead. I also think families now are going to say, you know what, unless I'm 100% sure, I'm going to choose virtual, which again might mean there's a lot of changes, because the information I am receiving from our principals and from families is that there's a lot of fear out there. And certainly the thought exchange suggests that. And also the fact that not many of our districts, fellow districts in Riverside, are opening this semester either, depending upon their local conditions. And as you saw from our census index, we have some real high incident areas. So, gosh, no one envies any of us for having to make a decision of this magnitude. My gosh, there's never been anything more difficult to do. But the fact that we are doing it with all the information that we do have at our disposal is the smart thing to do. So, with that, Madam President, unless there's any further questions, I'll hand it back over to you to close.
Okay, is there anybody else that has any other questions?
I want to take the time to really emphasize what Dr. Marcelino said, that we do have ample time to survey our families with the information that we have at hand at this time. I really want our families and staff and teachers to really consider their decision come second semester, because once again, when we're looking at second semester, we're looking at the whole semester. That means springtime, graduation time, just all the things that come with second semester, and possible, a possible vaccine. So if you make a decision, please base it on your current situation and the facts that come with second semester.
Thank you, Dr. Arado. Thank you very much. Okay, anybody else? Any other board members? Okay, we do have one more item, and we're gonna go to that real quickly. It's 10B1, quarterly report on Williams uniform complaints, and it's a discussion item. Is there any discussion that needs to be? I think this is Bob Presby. There he is. Do we have anything that you'd like to discuss?
No, on our end, we had no Williams complaints in the first quarter.
Perfect. Well, that's what we like to hear. Okay. And then also we do have agenda items for future board meetings. We do have a couple of those that will be presented at the 22nd board meeting of October. Is there any other items that the board would like to put on for a future board meeting? No?
Me.
Okay. All right, then we'll close that as well. All right, with that, again, on behalf of the Board of Education, we thank our entire staff for what they presented tonight. It was incredible and it was phenomenal, and thank you so very much. And we thank everybody that joined us this evening. Thank you very much, and I hope that it was informative. Please go back, write to, or be a part of the thought exchange. We want to hear from you. With that, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody and close, and remember the special board meeting will be October 13th at 6 o'clock. All right, so everybody, good night and stay safe and be well. Good night, everybody. So much for being here. See you the 13th. Good night.